Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I wish to add there, and let anybody, let me beseech the members to actually come up with their wisdom on Tuesday, not just with their rhetoric.
Okay. The next statement is from Senator Bomet, Christopher Lagat.
Give me the mic, okay, it's okay. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to the Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the crisis caused by the decision by the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, to deny cover to COVID-19 patients admitted in non-Ministry of Health designated private hospitals in the country. In the statement, the committee should explain the reasons for NHIF refusal to cover patients admitted to private hospitals with COVID-19, and yet the fund continues to receive monthly contribution from such patients. Number two, state the recourse available for the members and their beneficiaries in the event of death, given that private hospitals usually refuse to release bodies of the deceased patients for non-payment of enormous bills, leading to untold psychological, economic, and social suffering. Number three, Mr. Speaker, they should outline the measures the Ministry of Health has put in place, if any, to increase the capacity of public health facilities to cope with the ever-increasing number of COVID-19 patients. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Malaki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the chance to comment on this one. Mr. Speaker, this one is just like the one we heard about somebody that was disabled and pushed out of his work. When somebody gets COVID, that is like a death sentence. And if NHIF cannot pay, and especially if those people are contributing to NHIF, surely what are you telling those people? You're telling those people to accept that that particular person dies because there's no money? Mr. Speaker, again, in a civilized country like Kenya, there should be a situation that people can be given immediate medication and asked to pay later, because COVID-19 is a death sentence. It's something that will kill that somebody if they were not medicated. So feel so bad to hear this, that people are pushed out of hospital because they cannot pay. Mr. Speaker, the parents or the relatives of that particular person would totally be in shock, especially since many of our people are poor. And when they go to the hospital, they expect that NHIF is going to help them, only to be told you have to produce the money. Surely, where would people get such a money? And also, Mr. Speaker, that provision or whatever it is in the hospitals that says that when somebody dies, they cannot be released for burial unless the relatives pay money to get them out. Surely, how do you hold a dead person, especially that the one that died of COVID-19, just because people cannot pay? Isn't there a way that people could be held responsible and given the body of their dead person to go and bury? It's so inhuman that somebody is dead and then the body is held because you cannot pay, surely. What kind of humanity is that? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next statement is by Senator Millicent Omanga. I don't see her deferred. Senator Lelegwe.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 48-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations regarding the unfair treatment of members of the Samburu community living in Laikipia and malicious killing of their livestock by the security forces in the ongoing security operation in Laikipia County. Mr. Speaker, in the statement, the committee should, 1, outline the measures the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government has put in place, if any, to establish bona fide landowners who hail from other communities, including the Samburu community, with a view of shielding them from unfair eviction and victimization in the ongoing security operation in Laikipia County. 2, investigate the reports that the security personnel were involved in the killing of 37 herds of cattle and injuring 5 others belonging to Mr. Leshalote, a resident and landowner in Laikipia County for the last 35 years on 9 September 2021. This incident was reported in Rumruti Police Station under OB number 4013-09-2021. 3, investigate the killing of more than 5,000 livestock belonging to the Samburu community by the security forces between 2016 to date. 4, state the measures the military has put in place to compensate Mr. Leshalote and all other victims whose livestock have been killed by the security agencies in the pretext of evicting illegal herders in Laikipia County. 5, state the measures put in place to compel the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government and the Inspector General of Police to stop the killing of livestock in Laikipia County. And 6, explain the measures put in place by the government in providing water, pasture, and allocating alternative grazing land for the pastoralists who have been affected by the current drought situation in Laikipia, including being allowed to graze at ADC Mutara Ranch, Laikipia County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Olekina.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for allowing me to make some very brief but very sensitive comments on this matter of Laikipia. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we know what is happening on the ground currently. There's a lot of conflict. But ever since I was growing up, there were very serious conflict in that area, and the government has never won when it uses a gun to be able to try and bring sanity on the ground. Historically, there is the story of Sukuta Valley, where until today, the government has never won that conflict. Mr. Speaker, about a month ago, I brought in a statement to the same Security Committee on the issue of Laikipia. Today, my colleague, Senator Lelekwe from Samburu, whose people are being affected, has brought a similar statement. Last year, Mr. Speaker, I brought a statement specifically relating to the issues of cows being killed. This House, Mr. Speaker, has got to take a very serious approach to dealing with the issue of conflict in Laikipia. I was saddened last week, Mr. Speaker, when I had a few members of parliament going out there calling for the arrest of Senator Olekina because he said what is happening in Laikipia is evil. Mr. Speaker, unless this government is willing to sit down with the people of Laikipia, and the people of Laikipia are not only the Maasais. They are Maasais, they are Samburus, they are Kikuyus, they are Kisis, they are Kalenjins and Pokots, and literally 44 ethnic groups that live in Kenya, including the white settlers. The action of the current government, Mr. Speaker, and particularly the Ministry of Interior, makes those settlers look more like philanthropists. Because when they came, if you go back into the history of Laikipia, Mr. Speaker, back in 1904, when our people were moved to the reserve in the southern part, the few people who remained on the borderline, the one we call Laikipiak, some of them, including even the family of the former speaker, Kaparo, ended up living in the area. Some decided to become part of the settlers. Mr. Speaker, last week I was really in pain when I heard the former speaker talking about people should not be discussing what is happening in Laikipia when our own families are there. When I was a boy, I used to live in Rumuruti, Mr. Speaker. We have families in Laikipia. But when a few of us, and I'm not saying all of us are saints, because some of us decide to grab so much land. You know, some people there, including the former speaker Kaparo, own over 100,000 acres of land. So that person will not feel the pain of a poor person who has got their cows and all they want is pasture. The Pokot, when they come there, the only thing they know is to get their cows to feed. Grass. What we are doing in this country, Mr. Speaker, in relation to pastoralists, is something which is evil. And I think it's about time that we should start seeing the problem that our people are facing, and we do it diligently and maturely to resolve their problems. If we continue being afraid of what the British will say or what the colonial masters who were there before and who grabbed all the land will say, our people will continue suffering. We're in this house, and this is the house that I call the House of Union, to be able to unite the entire country. When Olekena speaks here, he speaks because he feels pain, because a Kikuyu child is being beaten on the street, because a Rendile child is being beaten on the street, not only a Maasai child. So, Mr. Speaker, I really would like to beseech you, because if we continue just coming out here and issuing statements, the Security Committee is not doing anything. It is not doing a thing, an outer thing. It is about time that we divorce interest and we think about the future of this nation. This nation, Mr. Speaker, will not develop, will not grow if we do not become our brothers' keepers. We are not our brothers' keepers here. We are our interest keepers. That's what we are, Mr. Speaker. What is happening in Laikipia could easily spread to other parts of this country. Land is a very emotive matter, Mr. Speaker. When we now talk about cows being killed, this is what made me who I am. My parents sold cows. They kept the cows to take me to school. And so are 90% of people who are in this house today. When I look around, I see my friend, Engineer Mohamud. He's a pastoralist. You know, they have cows, they have camels. That's what they depend on. But if we are now guided by interest and we forget the real interest of our people, if everything becomes about money, becomes about interest, then there's no point of us being here and lying to Kenyans that we are here to represent their interest. Mr. Speaker, I hope that this time, with this statement that has been raised by my colleague, Senator Lelekwe, action can be taken by this House. Kenyans have come to believe the Senate as a house of reason. The Senate as a house that saved this country. Last year, our marks were all the way up there because we were able to divide resources evenly among this country. But now, when we have a crisis that deals with humanity, the life of those people, they don't have land to grow. How do you feel, Mr. Speaker, when your neighbor has got 300,000 acres of land and you have nothing? I mean, it is ridiculous. You know, we need to start thinking like that farmer who has got the best seed and wants to keep that, wants to share that seed with the neighbors, when the neighbor does not have a good seed, because if that neighbor does not get that good seed because of pollination, even his own seed or his own crop, which is number one, will rot. This time around, what is happening in this country must come to an end. The time that the good Lord has given us to be in this world, we must be here and we must be counted the people, the house that came in and solved the problem in Laikipia. those who remain in the border, Mr. Speaker, and those who encroach in that area should be given their title deeds. If only the Cookie Gulmans or the rich or the royal families in the UK are the ones who are given land. And when it comes to an issue of land in Laikipia, when anyone talks about land in Laikipia, they become a target. What does that make this country? It makes this country more colonial than, it makes the government more colonial than the former colonial masters who maintain all that land. So, Mr. Speaker, when you submit this statement to the Security Committee, just like the way we cried about the issue of fuel prices in this country, let us not make this matter a matter of just a Security Committee. For once, let us make it a full House committee, so that when we leave here, the people who elect us here and expect us to represent them can see that we are doing something. I support the statement fully, and Mr. Speaker, I hope that this time, this Senate will be able to bring the change.
Senator Cheriot.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to support this statement by our colleague, Senator Lelegwe. Mr. Speaker, there comes a time when as a House and as a legislature, we must divorce ourselves from all interest, all politics, all affiliations that we may have, and just do the right thing. This is one such instance, Mr. Speaker, where as a House you are being invited to solve a crisis that has persisted for so many years. Yet, by God's design, this matter has come before this House this afternoon. When I saw the pictures of what our colleague is referring to, innocent cattle that has been burnt beyond recognition, some have been shot, what does that make me feel as a leader? When we came into this House, Mr. Speaker, standing next to where you are seated right now, we took an oath of office and said we are going to protect and defend our Constitution. In our Constitution, under the Bill of Rights, under even national values in Chapter 10 of our Constitution, Mr. Speaker, the rule of law is properly defined and what we are supposed to do in such instances. I'm afraid, Mr. Speaker, that it has reached a point in this country where there are certain people, certain cabinet ministers, the IG of police, so long as they are known to be pursuing certain partisan political interests, then they are considered to be above the law, that they can never be questioned by anyone. And that is the unfortunate tragedy that I want to call upon this House to rise above those petty partisan politics, if not for anything, for the interest of the rule of law in this country. Mr. Speaker, we are shuttling down a very dangerous trajectory, because you may sit here and think that if people can just randomly shoot cattle, that they cannot shoot you. I want to tell this House, Mr. Speaker, that to these people, some of us do not have even any value. Forget about those cows. They look at you and they can easily kill you. It is really unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, and you see, I understand where Senator Ledama Olekina is coming from when he says some of us no longer have faith in some committees of these houses of ours, Mr. Speaker. Because we have seen when ministers appear before us, and I mentioned this yesterday, and I'll repeat it today, that as a House, we must rise above partisan politics. We must draw the line and know, even if some of us sit in some of these lounges of these ministers seeking for favors here and there, we must separate that when it comes to the work of this House. How comes so many weeks after these cattle pastoralists have been killed, people have been displaced, that committee has not found time? Yet a few weeks ago, the Committee of Security in National Assembly spent a whole 4 hours on national television discussing the security of the Deputy President, as if it is anything that is important. If you found that is important, surely, why can't you find time to appear before Parliament and discuss the lives of these pastoralists that are being killed? We must be serious, Mr. Speaker. We must rise as leaders and do that which is right for this country. I want the IG to sit before this House, and I ask him, what is his understanding of Article 245? Because what we have, I'm sorry to say this, and we approved him, Mr. Mutiamba is behaving like a puppet on a string. All he does is just to follow around the Cabinet Secretary for Interior. In fact, when he appeared before Parliament, he was not even the one answering questions. If that committee of the National Assembly had intelligent people, the one question that we should have asked is that constitutionally, Article 205, read it. The IG is supposed to exercise independent command over the police. The only relation they have with the Cabinet Secretary for Interior is for him to write to him. And that instruction must be in writing and only on matters of policy. It cannot be about directing how he does his job. Therefore, we need to be told who gave this command. For one, people to burn cattle, people to kill these animals, people to kill other human beings. Then, you know, Senator Moses Wetangula, if he was here, would have told you that a few weeks ago, I think it was early this week, when they wanted to go there, you know, these excesses of the executive have gotten into these people's heads. They no longer have even regard for parliament. They said that, you know, this is an operation zone, that even parliament can come. Have you ever heard something like that? I'm sure even Senator Orengo, who has been in this house longer than all of us, in his entire life in parliament, has never heard anything of the sort. That the executive, that the police can tell parliament not to feature in any particular place. Even in war, there are rules of war, Mr. Speaker. These are not the kind of hearings that I even want to be done here. We should all of us troop to Laikipia and have a sitting there so that those people can speak and share their challenges with us. In any case, this good salary that you are paid, these nice suits that you are wearing are paid for by taxpayers, those people of Laikipia. So what is so difficult in us going to that particular part of the country and listening to their problems, Mr. Speaker? I want to plead with you, Mr. Speaker, that at least grant us an opportunity. Because just saying casually, this matter is referred to the Committee of Security, you know, we all of us know what will happen. We have seen those things. They have appeared before us, and that matter is quickly swept under the carpet. In any case, you remember, and this is the danger of going to bed with the executive. When Cabinet Secretary for Interior appeared before National Assembly Committee, at the same time, it was being reported that a member of this House, Mr. Speaker, was collecting signatures to invite him. He said, security has nothing to do with the Senate. Those are idlers. He said it on record. Go to the Hansard of the National Assembly, say they have no business with this House. Because they know in any case when they appear before us, you know, we are struggling for photo opportunities with them. Can we be serious as a House, Mr. Speaker? I want to plead for the life of us, for the time that is left, the 10 months, that let us do justice and be the House that for once and for all resolves this issue of Laikipia so that we will be remembered as an institution that until... I don't mind to be informed by Senator Liture, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Senator, he has said he doesn't want you to inform him.
No, I said I don't mind.
Oh, you don't mind? Oh, okay, okay.
Mr. Speaker, I have listened to my good brother Arun Cheruiyot. I can feel him, can see his bonded demeanor. Very passionate about the issues in Laikipia and anybody else that has spoken here. What I want to inform him, Mr. Speaker, is first I must confess I'm a member of the National Security and Defense Committee. Mr. Speaker, most of the committees of Parliament here are important. There is nothing that we are doing in those committees. Mr. Speaker, today, and yesterday and today, we were supposed to have met the leadership of the security teams in this country. Committees schedule meetings, chairmen postpone without the consultations. We don't know what kind of deals are cut behind bars. Some of us are left sitting, waiting. So, Mr. Speaker, so when we are here, we must be very serious on what really we want to do as a parliament, because the oversight authority of this House has been taken away from us. Either probably it's because of the leadership was elected by the executive, or either because we do not care, but there is every reason to why we must retreat and ask ourselves as a House, are we serving the interests of Kenyans? Mr. Speaker, I feel no. It's unfortunate this is happening. Mr. Speaker, right now, before you, and I think the clerk, the National Security Committee itself has a trip to the US. Last time, you approved, or the leadership of this committee, or House, approved the travel of members of the committee to US. Today, you have approved another one of the same members who went to the US. no consultation. This committee has no leadership. It has stayed without a chairman since the departure of the late Haji. And Mr. Speaker, I think you really need to give us direction. Otherwise, we are an embarrassment to this country.
Mr. Speaker, you have heard for yourself. When I earlier raised the issue of this particular committee, those are the matters that I knew need to be brought to your attention. That a committee is just globetrotting, thinking about the America, but they cannot find time to solve issues here in Laikipia. You know, I saw my friend Senator Matangi and Deputy Majority Leader Fatuma Dulo bring out a list trying to manage committees. The thing that you should be doing, deal with the security committee. Those are the committees you should be dealing with. Not to bring here small games about, amend the education committee. That committee has stayed without a leader since the departure of our colleague. That is a member of a committee who has spoken about it. Mr. Speaker, first of all, as a measure of concern, you should cancel that trip that they want to go to the US. Tell them to go to Laikipia instead. In any case, Texas looks like Laikipia. If there's anything, they want to go and land there. So that people can learn their lesson, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order, Senator Cheriot.
Why is the Deputy Majority Leader interrupting me, Mr. Speaker?
There's a point of order. Yes, there is a point of order. Okay, there's a point of order.
She wants to say she's not in charge, but we left her in charge.
No. Don't
Who
speak
did you
for her.
surrender the
Don't
leadership
speak for her. Senator Dulo.
Mr. Speaker, is Senator Cheriot in order to stand on the floor of this House to say that Fatuma Dulo and Wamatangi are the ones micromanaging the list of the committees, while this list was developed by the leadership and it went to the committee of the House. They approved it and it was tabled before this House. Why is he calling names here? Thank you.
You see, Mr. Speaker, what I said is that it is Senator Fatuma Dulo who brought a list here yesterday trying to amend the membership of committees. I don't think that she can deny. Therefore, I've told her, don't waste your energy managing committees that are otherwise working. If there is a committee that needs to be disbanded and sent home, it is a committee on security. That's the only point I was saying. In fact, Mr. Speaker, I want to move that before members finish discussing this statement, I think I can read the mood of the House. I can quickly bring up a motion that we disband that committee because it is clear no member in this House has faith in that particular committee. And I will even add a second part to the motion that stop them from globetrotting to the United States before they give attention to Laikipia.
Okay,
Mr.
okay.
Speaker.
Okay, order, senators. Let me make this clear. Order, senators. Senator Cheriot, take your seat. No. Honorable Senator, order. I want to say this, order, senators. You know, as a speaker, I have tried my level best to resist micromanaging committees, and I don't want to do that. I have given committees a leeway. It's you people. So when you bring names for approval for any trip, my assumption is it has been done by very reasonable people, distinguished senators, and if they are not, that's not my problem. But I believe that when they come to me, you have consulted, and therefore I don't want to remove or add or micromanage committees. I just want to appeal to you that anything that comes before the Speaker, my assumption it has been thoroughly thought about, and they are going to do business on behalf of the Senate. So don't drag me into committees and saying I should cancel whatever. I think I don't want to go that direction. Senator Kimani Wamatangi, what's your point of order? There is a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the discussion that's going on. And first to acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, that the matter that has been brought here by Senator Lelegwe, Senator representing the people of Samburu, is a very, very important statement, Mr. Speaker. And the matter he raises is a matter of national importance. And I agree entirely that there is no life or livelihood of any Kenyan that should be taken for granted. Those are pertinent issues, Mr. Speaker. Now, my concern is, Mr. Speaker, And we have a standing order that addresses the issue of irrelevance. And Mr. Speaker, unless Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, you guide the House such that we do not introduce matters outside what is contained in the debate, Mr. Speaker, whether it is by a petition or a statement, Mr. Speaker. And I would want to request you, Mr. Speaker, so that we do not diverge, because most of us are resisting just to come here and start saying things, because we want to make sure that finally what Senator Lelegwe seeks to achieve by seeking that statement is achieved. But if we let the flow that is currently on the floor continue, we are going to end up with a political discussion here. We are going to end up with a personalized discussion, Mr. Speaker. We are going to end up with people calling each other names. Now it has degenerated into the issue between relationships in committees, Mr. Speaker. Once we are done with the Security Committee, somebody is going to come up with another committee on cohesion. Somebody will say about another committee, Mr. Speaker. And we are going to be moving the motion, Mr. Speaker, shortly on the membership of the committees. Any member who may have an issue can raise it, Mr. Speaker. We have consulted widely, Mr. Speaker, and absolutely what requires to happen is that between leadership and members, what we want to see is the business of the House continuing, Mr. Speaker. And so I would want to urge my good friend, Senator Cheriot. And Mr. Speaker, if you allow, let me remind my good friend Cheriot that he's a commissioner in this House, Mr. Speaker. And he should be amongst the few people in leadership in this House, setting the standard very high, such that the business of this House is respected, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
So, Mr. Speaker, can he be relevant? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Senator Cheriot. Yeah. Senator Outa, what's your point of order?
My point of order is Senator Cheriot.
Senator Outa. Order, Senator Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, can you hear me? Mr. Speaker, can you hear me? Mr. Speaker, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Order.
Mr. Speaker, is Senator Cheriot in order to claim that the committee has never been like Kipia, and yet the whole team, the entire committee was
Order,
in
Senator.
Monday,
We can't see you. Can you put order?
and is bringing politics in the security of this nation. He should be able to talk about something else, not talking about the committee.
Order. Senator Outa, put on your video.
And he should not bring the politics in the House. What he should be able to do is to allow those statements to come before the committee as per the standing orders. But when you want to do politics, we are ready to do politics with him.
Order. Senator Outa,
Yes.
put on your video.
My video is on.
We can't. Okay, yeah, we can see you now. Okay, yes. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, we do not want to bring politics in the matter of security. This committee of the national security was in Laikipia on Monday, and we had 3 meetings in different areas, and we met with the public, and we got a hearing from them, and we are resolving their problems. But when somebody wants to come and bring politics, that this committee is sleeping, is traveling all over the world, and yet we are doing our work, and we responded according to the statement brought in the House by the senator of Laikipia. What is he telling Kenyans about other committees? He's also in another committee, but when you want to point hands on how we deal with our committee, then we will also be going to be ready to point hands in their committees. He cannot go that direction. We need to be sober and allow the security team to do their job. What we have gathered is enough, and he should be able to wait the report from this committee in due time, but not to bring politics in the matter of security.
Okay. Order, senators. Order. I am aware that the committee went to, what's the information? Senator Lelegwe. Okay, then.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to inform the chair of the committee who visited Laikipia to find issues or to solve issues of farmers and pastoralists who are grazing in Laikipia County. Yes, they were, last week they were in ground and they were doing some meetings. What they did is they did not meet all the pastoralists. They only met with few members of the community, The livestock farmers who were affected, whose livestock were killed by the security forces, were not given chance by the committee. And I suspect the committee will table a report that is biased.
No, why are you, no, order. Order, Senator Lelegwe. Don't anticipate a report. First of all, you said they didn't go there. Now it's turning out they went there. Distinguished senators, let us be honorable. Let us respect our own committees. Because the moment you start casting aspersion in any committee, this is going to spread to other committees and it's going to be very impossible for the committees to operate. Senator Mahmoud.
I'm a member of the Committee of National Security. It'll be unfair if I don't say something here. In fact, on the prompting by Senator of Laikipia last week, a question was brought here, and based on what he brought before us, before the Senate, you referred the matter to us. On Monday, we went there to deal with the matter he raised. We went to the areas that he mentioned in his question. Now, this is another matter which our colleague is raising. We'll deal with this again because, you know, we went there specifically on the matters raised by Senator Kinyua. And we went, in fact, we really found out a lot of things happening in that place. But now, for me now, when I'm seeing this one, it's a very serious matter also. So it's the other side of it, because it was the farmers that side, is now the pastoral this side. So let's be objective. Let's not be able to even condemn the committee, because much as maybe committees in this house are not working as people are saying, but for this particular matter, we were there and we did a good job. A report is coming. In fact, we went out, we did a good job. But now I'm seeing the committee is being disbanded anyway by the chair. I'm being removed myself, but we'll come to that later. But I think we did a good job, Mr. Speaker. This matter should not actually, whatever we did should not be actually contradict what you are doing now, because but when I saw this, I saw the other side of it, a side where pastoralists from Baringo are being accused of stealing animals and killing farmers. The other side now where the farmers are being fought and hit by, pastoralists are being fought by farmers, being evicted from their land. This is what I'm seeing here. So I think we need to balance as a house. Let's not take sides. I think it's not an issue of one community against the other. So I think the committee should not be unduly also condemned. It will be unfair if I sit here and watch, because my good friend Watangula is not there, Ota is not there. So I think I have been in many committees myself, in particular when I'm there. But I think the proposal we are trying to make, the changes, will make it worse anyway. But for now, I think we are okay.
Senator Shionga, what did you have?
Speaker, thank you. Speaker, I just wanted to echo the same sentiment Senator Mohamud has just said. This is a different issue or a different statement from the statement that Senator Laikipia brought. They are handling these issues as they come. And if they have already handled the issue in Laikipia, and your statement has been tabled today, you have brought the statement today, let them also arrange and deal with it accordingly. And let us not point hands, let us not dismantle one another, let us not wash dirty linen in the public. People are listening to us, and we know how, with the standing orders, how we handle our issues. I know we are politicians, I know we are people who can talk for our people, but again, if we can only tempt ourselves to the point whereby we can handle our issues in a more respectful way, it will help us solve the issues in the committees.
Senator James Orengo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this chance. One, I think the issues being raised by the Senate of Samburu are very serious. And I was very much concerned that instead of discussing the issue, we are now discussing the committee. And I think this is a great disservice to the people of Laikipia. In fact, the problem in Laikipia is so serious that I would have thought, given this opportunity, we would not be talking about ourselves. We should be talking about what is taking place in Laikipia. And the problem is so serious because it is not happening for the first time. It has been persistent, to the extent that the committee and the Senate as a whole should determine the root causes of the problems in Laikipia. Now, my own problem is this. In fact, I think it's the entire triangle. It's a triangle. There's a great provision in the Constitution, and this I'm talking to the security forces, that in carrying out their activities, they must do it in accordance with the Bill of Rights. The police and the security have no basis for violating the Bill of Rights on the basis that they are carrying out a security operation. Indeed, that is the time when a good government is distinguished from a bad government. That even in a situation of war, you should be respecting human rights. And I'm so scared that in carrying out this security operation, property is still being destroyed. Yes. Is that compliance with the Constitution? No. That people are dying and animals are being killed. This problem in Laikipia is not about the Senate, because we know where those responsibilities lie. A committee of this Senate and the Senate cannot carry out a war or cannot go there and fight in the defense of the nation. They are proper institutions that are answerable. And me, I'm seeking an answer, because the problem of Laikipia is not coming today. If in this crescent of Baringo, Samburu, Laikipia, over the years, and it's not a matter of this thing happening this month or 2 months, for the last 20 years, the problems have persisted in Laikipia. Are we using the appropriate tools? Because, sometimes guns don't work. Don't work. You can go there with tanks and guns. Even the Americans have known in Afghanistan, the best war machine in the world is from the United States of America. Look at the way they have left Afghanistan. So I want to advise the government, really, that in carrying out the security operation in Laikipia, they must talk to the people in Laikipia and find out and make them players in trying to resolve that problem and resolve it for once and for all. Because if we cannot resolve an internal security situation, what about if you are under attack from our own neighbors? That within our own people, we cannot be able to control that process. So one of the things that we must look into is the government to be accountable. What's happening in Laikipia? They cannot, in fact, there's always a convenience, like they have said in Laikipia also, that it is politicians who are causing the problem in Laikipia. That is an excuse. It could be the administration. Why always politicians? And no single politician has been arrested and convicted of carrying out those kind of activities in Laikipia. And I know all the time we are always available for arrest. Yeah, when they want to arrest politicians, they're always arrested. Yeah. And in Laikipia, they've said many times, and even this time, they are saying it is the politicians. So it is not the politician, it is a real security situation. And there are models internationally, best practices, that when you have this kind of security situation, how to deal with it, what kind of instruments and tools to use. And therefore, I am hoping that the Senate will now look at where the responsibilities lie. Because whatever is happening in Kenya today, my position is that the government of the day must be accountable to the people. It must be accountable. Poor Outa, how would Outa resolve the problem in Laikipia? How would he? How would he? If the Senate cannot get their allowances together, how will it solve the problem in Laikipia? You're asking for the impossible. So it is the institutions in place that must be brought to book by the Senate. And by the way, there is never a war situation where elected leaders cannot go. In Iraq, in Afghanistan, we have seen legislators going. In the war front, and journalists going to the war front. Even here in Ethiopia, one of the senators, Senator Kunz, was sent by Biden to go and monitor the situation in Tigray. And here we are barring politicians. How can we ensure to the country that the security forces are being accountable to the people of Kenya if you are not allowed to go there? We can observe the protocols, as we always do. And I plead with this Senate, and I plead with Senator Cheriot. I think you are bringing valid points, but it may make us now forget. In fact, I think the person who was watching, somebody sent me a message here as you're speaking. It looks like now it is us. We are beginning to blame ourselves on a thing that does not belong here. It only belongs here on the basis that we should bring those people to account. Yes. And I'm hoping, Mr. Speaker, on this one, on the situation in Laikipia, don't back down. If these people are required here, let's make a position on this one. Full house. Yes. With all those ministers and the Inspector General to come here. And if they can't come, it'll mean we are prepared to draw conclusions. If we are not prepared to run this nation in accordance with the Constitution, and the Constitution says how it should be run, that these ministers are accountable to us, they can be summoned anytime. Yes. So any minister that does not want to come to the Senate is in violation of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. And they should not be telling people of Kenya how Kenya should be ruled. They should take lessons or be taken to these many places they go to. Yeah, I mean, some people are, when we see good things happening in other places, we send statements congratulating them. But we don't want to apply the same standards in this country. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, this country, we are now at a very critical stage. We are at a very critical stage. And I know politics is always very attractive. But if it does not have rules, even if you have a Messi in the team and you have 4 or 5 balls, Messi has not learned how to play a football match where you're using 5 or 6 balls. There must be only 1 ball. And in these 10 months, these 10 months, we can make a lot of things change, or we can destroy a lot of things. Yes. And if we are for destruction, woe unto us. And I'm asking those who are wielding executive power, this is the time to think and reflect. Seriously. Seriously. You can bring a house down in 10 minutes, but building it will take 100 years. So let us listen to all of us. We are all Kenyans, and let's apply the rules of the game. Mr. Speaker, I plead with you that because of what Senator Lelego has brought before the House, that it should be dealt with urgently, and these ministers should come here earliest middle of next week. Yeah, so that not only do we question them on the committee is going to bring its report so that we can deal with the same issues on debate after these ministers come here to tell us about what they are doing in Laikipia. And if need be, Mr. Speaker, you can think about another visit to Laikipia by not only the Security Committee, but whoever that the House thinks should be there so that, I remember one time when we went to Western Gishu, when we were sitting there, the people in Western Gishu were very happy that a full platoon of senators were there trying to deal with their problems. I think on the maize issue, it was not just the committee, it was many members who are ready and willing. And if you are ready and willing, all to go to Laikipia, so be it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There is Senator Mudhama Agnes. Senator Madam Agnes, yeah. We want to see you. She's on Zoom.
You want to see me?
We can see you. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to thank the Senator of Laikipia for this very important statement and bill. Mr. Speaker, I think we must be sensitive to what is happening to those people of Laikipia. They need to be protected as Kenyans, and their cows needs also to be protected. And this, Mr. Speaker, sir, if I listen very carefully and very well, it is all originating as a result of land issues. And because of these land issues, I think that's why many people are having all this insecurity, not only in Laikipia, even in Machakos County. Mr. Speaker, there's an issue with the Portland people who had leased a land in Machakos. And after leasing, they took a loan. And now this land has been given, the title deed has been given to a bank, which now a bank wants to sell. And the indigenous people have nowhere to live. And they're facing the same issues like Laikipia. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that this issue of Laikipia and any other area of this county, this country, must be solved once and for all, and the government must see what they must do, and especially the interior security. How can one live in fear in their own country, in their own home, having sleepless nights, not knowing what time bandits will come and chase you out of your house? Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the senator and say that the committee which is concerned with this must take action, and action must be taken even by the Senate as a whole, and the government of Kenya must take action for all these land issues to be resolved once and for all. And once the land issues are resolved, then we'll have no issues of insecurity. Mr. Speaker, the land in Machakos, in Portland, the land in Drumville, and another piece of land in Machakos, and all these other lands, Turukana, Laikipia, and other areas where there are land issues. I would pray that the committee will look into this, all of it, and solve these problems once and for all. I want to congratulate and I support Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
Senator Onesimus Murkomen. Senator, I'm following Senator Imana. Senator Imana, yeah. Malaki.
Linturi, Senator Imana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Back to the issue in Laikipia. Let's leave the committee alone. The committee, they are doing their best. So back to the issue in Laikipia. Mr. Speaker, one, I want to explain the fact that a third of this country is being occupied by pastoralists. Pastoralists are people who do their farming by keeping livestock. That is their livelihood. So pastoralists have a lot of respect for the animals they have, and they are ready to defend those animals with their lives. So when you see a situation in Laikipia where there are fences all over the place, yet the same county is being occupied by pastoralists. Honorable Olekina, every time you speak about Laikipia, you say the Maasai, the Samburu, you forget that Turkana people are living there too. They are the same people, they have the same beliefs, they keep livestock, and every time something happens, they also get the same treatment that other communities get from the government. Last time, 3,000 cattle were killed. Turkanas were killed in that fight, and also lots of cattle were lost. Today, as we speak about the people who got killed, Joseph Ingolan is a Turkana. Ingolan is a Turkana name. So Turkana cattle are also gone down, and Turkana people are also killed. So we need to be inclusive to say that this is a problem that affects us all as pastoralists, not only particular communities, but those of us who live in Laikipia. Turkana is there, Samburu are there, Pokots are there, and everybody's there. So, but what we want to condemn is what the military does with the animals. You know, for us, animals, especially cattle, are right in the heart of a Samburu or a Turkana or a Maasai. By killing 5,000 cattle, it's like you're taking out my heart. And that is very painful. The same thing, Mr. Speaker, goes on in Uganda, where Turkana people are forced to go into Uganda to look for grass and water. And their cattle were raided by Ugandans. Of course, Turkana is built in them that they defend their cattle. So they followed and got their cattle back. And then the Ugandan army took those cows. And today we are trying to get them to bring them back. But nobody's listening to us. They have taken those cattle by force. So this kind of thing should not be happening in Kenya. Our own government should not be killing our animals. I would say that if anything should be done, arrest the people that may have contravened something, done something, and not kill them, and not kill the cattle. Arrest the people who are responsible and maybe take them to prison. As far as we are concerned, because Laikipia has fences everywhere in the name of these ranches, as far as I'm concerned, if I see grass on the other side of this fence and my cows on this side are starving, what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to break the fence and get my cattle in there so they can have grass. So this is something that other communities do not understand, that the reason why Kenya is not all Maasai is because those people were only looking for grass and water. And so you see Naivasha, Nakuru, Nairobi, all these are Maasai names, but those people do not own those lands because they were just looking for grass and water. In the same way now, we are still looking for grass and water. So when Musunga has put a fence there and there's grass on the other side, it's very likely that I'm going to break that fence and get my cattle to graze. So it's just a simple thing like that. So to solve this problem, the fences have to be removed. Or maybe the government will have to avail grass and water for pastoralists. Otherwise, there will always be these problems. People are always going to break the fences and get their cattle in there. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to get, like you say, talk to the people of Laikipia. What do you talk to the people of Laikipia about? We should talk to the people who have ranches to tell them to open up the land so people can graze. Or maybe find a way to grow grass so that our cattle can feed without breaking people's fences. Otherwise, this problem is going to continue forever. And, you know, Mr. Speaker, our own military killing our own people in their own country is just unbelievable. You know, in South Sudan, South Sudanese come into our country with big guns and so on, and our military is right there, and they're not doing anything. How is it you are killing innocent, they're killing innocent pastoralists in Laikipia? It's very, you know, it's out of order. It's something that you don't expect. A whole army of Kenya to start firing at pastoralists and also kill the animals. Every time you kill the animals, you are creating poverty because those people depend on those animals to live. When you kill them, then you're leaving poor people, destitute people behind. What is the point of that? So, as somebody said here, the government needs to find a way to avail grass for the cattle of these people and avail water for these people so that people do not have to break fences to get in to get grass. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Murkomen, I've given you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when Senator John Nderitu Kinyua came with a statement a week ago about the situation in Laikipia, my understanding is that he came on behalf of all the people who live in Laikipia, the rich, the poor, the farmers, the pastoralists, and people from all communities. And when we spoke on the floor of this House, we spoke on behalf of all communities that live in Laikipia, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's very sad that the security operation is now done in a manner that wants to divide the people of Laikipia. In fact, I dare say, like Senator Orengo said, we are not the problem. We are being, Mr. Speaker, pigeonholed to various communities. So that, Mr. Speaker, we come back to the floor of this House and say, you know, I speak for the farmers, I speak for the pastoralists, I speak for this community, I speak for the other community. We speak here on behalf of all the people of Laikipia. We speak here on behalf of all the people of Kerio Valley Triangle, Mr. Speaker, who are suffering because it is not the responsibility of Senator Lelegwe, who has now brought another important statement to provide security in Laikipia. It is not the responsibility of Senator Nderitu Kinyua, and it's like Senator Orenko said, we are here to ensure that we hold the government into account. Mr. Speaker, we will not accept, and I beg that our colleagues and the people of Laikipia and the people of Kenya do not fall into this trap where they are being told your problems as a result of this man because this person is a Samburu, this one is a Turkana, this one is a Kisii, this one is a Kalenjin, this one is a Kikuyu, Mr. Speaker. The problem in Laikipia is security. It's not the tribe of the people who are inhabiting Laikipia County. And Mr. Speaker, what is happening in Laikipia is not unique to Laikipia alone. And I said it here 2 weeks ago. You were the DC of Marakwet. You dealt with that issue almost 20 years ago. And even before you became the DC in Marakwet, it was already there for another 20 years. The problem of Kerio Valley is a persistent problem that was there when President Jomo Kenyatta was the president. If you read the history and the story of the Ngoroko, Mr. Speaker, you know that this cattle rustling problem has been bedeviling the people of Kerio Valley from West Pokot to Turkana, Mr. Speaker, to Elgeyo Marakwet, to Baringo, to Samburu. That whole belt, Mr. Speaker, of Kerio Valley region has faced this problem for more than 50 years. The discussion we should be having here is about lasting solutions, Mr. Speaker. The discussion that should be happening in Laikipia, because I met another member of parliament of National Assembly who, Mr. Speaker, was telling me, oh, you know, our community is being targeted. And I was asking him, your community is being targeted because you only heard about this problem today. But when 2017, when we went to Laikipia, Mr. Speaker, with the Deputy President and with the Minister of the Interior, with the County Commissioner, Mr. Speaker, in fact, we were in a big meeting, Mr. Speaker, where we launched the NPR, National Police Reservice, both in Laikipia, Mr. Speaker, up to Turkana, through Baringo, West Pokot. Mr. Speaker, all these areas, we gave people NPR officers to supplement the work that the police were doing. Why were we doing that? We were using a method that was applied from the days of President Jomo Kenyatta, the days of President Moi, President Kibaki, President Uhuru, Mr. Speaker, and suddenly in second term of President Uhuru Kenyatta, some other officers in OP decided that they were going to, Mr. Speaker, remove all this local security and understand the terrain, Mr. Speaker, that were working with the police officers in that area, and now left the people to be exposed. Mr. Speaker, it is not the livestock which is the problem. It is not, Mr. Speaker, the communities which are the problem. The problem in Laikipia is the government inability to provide security for people in Laikipia, for people in Baringo, Elgeyo Marakwet, Turkana, West Pokot, and Baringo to live in peace, Mr. Speaker. If you go to Baringo County, it's not only the Tugens who are there. There are various, Mr. Speaker, first clans of the Tugen community in Baringo. But you also add there are Pokots, there are James, Mr. Speaker, there are Kikuyus, there are people from all tribes in Baringo. The same to Elgeyo Marakwet County. So you cannot, Mr. Speaker, now pigeonhole this issue to this community versus the other one. And I really think that there is a hand, Mr. Speaker, within the current administration that wants to use the Laikipia situation to divide people into communities so that Senator Lelekwe here will come and disagree with Senator Kinyua, Mr. Speaker, and fight each other and say it is this pastoralism versus the farmers and so forth. This statement from Senator Lelekwe is a timely, good statement that speaks to the issues without dichotomizing, Mr. Speaker, us versus them. And Mr. Speaker, Senator Lelekwe is asking very important questions. Why would security kill livestock? Why would they destroy property? I thought they went there to protect the property, Mr. Speaker. I thought they went there to restore unity and peace among communities. I thought they went there to look for criminals, Mr. Speaker. How come, Mr. Speaker, every time there's a cattle rustling problem in any part of this country, there is no single person who has been arrested and charged in a court of law? Even in the Laikipia situation, Mr. Speaker, how come up to now, nobody, no citizen has been taken to court? Forget about the question of rushing to politicians. Where are the real perpetrators that are holding the guns and destroying and killing people? And they do not have to have a tribal tag. They are bandits and must be dealt with as bandits, not because they come from community X or Y. And Mr. Speaker, Senator Lelego is also asking an important question. Mr. Speaker, what is going to happen to pastoralist competition between pastoralists, Mr. Speaker, looking for grass and water, and those who are farmers who are established and growing their crops and protecting their grass, Mr. Speaker, so that they can feed their livestock or to sell the grass? What's going to happen? Mr. Speaker, what's the government policy on this issue? Mr. Speaker, Senator Lelego is even asking, Mr. Speaker, you have government that supposedly have 15,000 acres, Mr. Speaker, which is supposed to be ADC Mutara Ranch. And Mr. Speaker, this ADC Mutara Ranch, supposedly from the Minister of Interior himself. Minister of Interior himself said this property is owned by the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable William Ruto. The Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya has said, I do not own that property of ADC Mutara Ranch. So that begs the question, and the Deputy President even went ahead and said, donate this. If you find any 15,000 acres of land in Laikipia, supposedly Mutara Ranch, that belongs to him, donate it to pastoralists to go and graze their livestock. So, Mr. Speaker, I want the Security Committee and this Senate to invite the Minister of Interior, Honorable C.S. Matiang'i, to come here, Mr. Speaker, and we officially donate, Mr. Speaker. There is no need for verification. Government cannot just speak. A cabinet secretary cannot just walk here and speak. The cabinet secretary knows very well that there is an idle 15,000 acres of land that is neither owned by ADC nor owned by the deputy president. Why can't we publicly donate this property to pastoralists, Mr. Speaker, so that they can live in harmony and graze their livestock inside there and avoid this situation where, Mr. Speaker, there's a competition between pastoralists and farmers? It's because of that reason that, Mr. Speaker, we are saying on the floor of this House that, Mr. Speaker, the people like Kivya deserve peace. We deserve peace in Kerio Valley. I told you last week that, Madam Speaker, in Tot, where I come from, today we are burying, Mr. Speaker, a young man from Tot area, Mr. Speaker. And almost every week we've been burying 2 or 3 people, Madam Speaker. And this is the issue that it borders all of us, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. And I want to request that the Security Committee become a little bit serious. I saw my friend Senator Uta saying we are not this, we are not that. Mr. Speaker, I think we are just basically chastising and encouraging our committee. We are trying to tell the committee they must live up to the expectations. How come, Mr. Speaker, I'm willing to be informed, Madam, by Senator.
Mr. Speaker, I agree that this committee must become more serious. Madam Speaker, sorry. It's for your information, and distinguished Senator Murkomen. On the Wednesday 15th at 8 a.m., we had asked the Minister Interior, Minister C.S. Lands, and C.S. Asar to appear before the committee to answer to matters that relate to the conflicts in those areas and issues to do with boundary conflicts. Mr. Speaker, and what shocked me, because personally I believe Parliament is supreme. Parliament is a serious institution, and once conned by Parliament, then you must leave other duties and go and answer before the House on any matter that you've been asked to. So, Madam Speaker, when we asked Parliament, when we asked all those ministers to appear before the National Security Committee, this is the response, Murkomen, I want them to hear, that came from the CS Interior. And the CS Interior, I think, is so overwhelmed, so obsessed with the power that they should leave that will not go beyond 10 months. And the letter that came from him, Mr. Speaker, and Madam Speaker, and signed by a Mr. A or C, and because he's so big, he can't sign a letter to the committee, reads and says, the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior and Coordination of National Government is not in a position to honor the invitation due to exigencies of duty. This is, for avoidance of doubt and for more clarity, this is when we ask these ministers to appear, the Minister Interior, or the Cabinet Secretary Interior, through a Mr. Osia, on a letter dated 14th September, because the meeting was supposed to have been yesterday to discuss these issues, wrote to the committee and sent. The Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior and Coordination of National Government is not in a position to honor the invitation due to exigencies of duty. You are therefore requested to postpone the meeting to a later date. This letter is not courteous. Madam Speaker, if anybody has any respect and without contempt of Parliament, would have tried to explain himself why he would not have been able to attend. He would even have further written and sent, I propose that I appear before the committee on this date. And the matters that we're asking him to appear to answer on are issues related to security, loss of lives, protection of property. So we need to be serious on these issues. I agree, even if this whole House was supposed to take this matter on itself, because I said again, and I'm not afraid of repeating myself, that committee has no capacity to deal with this matter, because even when this matter was adjourned or the acceptance or the changes of postponement was done, there was no consultation between the members of the committee, because some of us would have opposed, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Okay, that was very long
Information, that was... Madam Speaker, just to conclude, I think my take for the people of on this statement is that as a Senate and the committee and this House, we must be able to achieve two things, in my own opinion. Number one, restoration of peace in Laikipia, but in a manner that does not divide the Laikipia people between us versus them, whether it's pastoralists, whether it's farmers, whether it is this community or the other. I know, and you know very well, Madam Speaker, that even people from your own community live in Laikipia. And Laikipia is a cosmopolitan area, just like many parts of Rift Valley. We must achieve unity of purpose in Laikipia without dichotomizing the fight as us versus them. Number two, we must achieve justice. Madam Speaker, the criminals must be arrested. Government cannot, Madam Speaker, legitimize extrajudicial killing. And like Senator Orengo said, we cannot fight a good war by violating Chapter 4 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. We must do it in a manner that is in accordance with the Constitution. And therefore, extrajudicial killing where people are being killed on sight, Madam Speaker, where they should have been arrested. Of course, some of them are armed and dangerous, so you can understand if equal force is applied, and Mr. Speaker, they die. But the effort must be to bring them to justice. Number two is that livestock are not criminals. So killing livestock, Madam Speaker, is actually establishing a very terrible order in our country where, you know, you are actually, this is a shortcut where the security people are saying, let's kill all the livestock, therefore there will be no competition for livestock and for pasture and water. This is a shortcut for security. We must, Madam Speaker, protect also property of those who live in Laikipia, unlike this indiscriminate destruction of property. And I hope if we achieve this as a Senate, we'll be able to go far. And I've said and insisted, as a person who, since 2013, was elected, has gone for meetings of security on cattle rustling almost 3 times every year, and sometimes continuously for about 3 to 4 months. I do not believe that this thing has us versus them. I don't think there is ODM or Jubilee or UDA or any other political party or majority or minority side. This is an issue that should unite this House and unite this country to find a lasting solution. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. The next senator is Senator Cherargei, but I thought I watched Cherargei speak. No, not on this. Okay. So Senator Cherargei, Samson Kiprotich.
Madam Speaker, you should be looking forward for me for being very active in the House. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a few comments, because I don't want to speak a lot. I agree largely with what my colleagues have said. Majority Leader, Senator Murkomen, People's Majority Leader, the future Governor of Siaya, well spoken, I agree. Mutatis Mutandis, Senator Orengo. Mr. Speaker, 2 things. I agree this is very unfortunate that we are discussing this. I remember last week, The House spoke itself, they pronounced themselves, but I want to thank Senator Lilengwe for bringing to the attention this issue. We had one perspective last week, but now we have a second perspective, Madam Speaker. It is unfortunate that the security apparatus in this country are confusing criminal elements for killing cows or livestock. Killing more than 5,000 cattle is unfortunate, Madam Speaker. And also even these things have been reported with the police, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, from where I sit, I agree the issues in Laikipia is not about the use of force and gun and deployment of military or any other or even national police reserves. That is part one of solution of the problem. But the underlying issue that we are facing in Laikipia looks like more it's about the ownership and possession of land within Laikipia, Madam Speaker. And I think it is a high time, and I know maybe government wants to play soft diplomacy against the people who own land, especially big ranches, the foreigners. It is good to have foreigners in our country invest because they give us revenue. But it should not be done at the expense of the people who are living in Laikipia. The people living in Laikipia, Madam Speaker, have an opportunity to ensuring, Madam Speaker, that they get where they can take for pastures, Madam Speaker. They can ensure they get a good place for their people, Madam Speaker, and land and place to live, Madam Speaker. But I think as a Senate, Madam Speaker, in conclusion, is I want to appeal that let us push for restoration of peace. Then secondly, understand the underlying issues that, like Senator Ledama has taken us to a very expansive issues that really affect the people of Laikipia, Madam Speaker. And we appreciate that Laikipia, even my family members also live in Laikipia, just like you was. So how do we ensure peace is there, number two? And then, in all honesty, Madam Speaker, address the underlying issues. Finally, Madam Speaker, it is unfortunate, and allow me to read this section of the Constitution, because the senior government officials sitting, especially the people in charge of security, from the CS Interior, the IG, who should be independent as Article 245, Madam Speaker, the DCIO, and many others, I just want to remind them, Article 153.3, that says a cabinet secretary shall attend, it does not say may, shall attend before a committee of the National Assembly or the Senate. It does not say the National Assembly, it also says or the Senate when required by the committee, and answer any question concerning a matter for which the cabinet secretary is responsible. The violation of this, and in the upshot of this, Madam Speaker, is a contempt towards this House. Any cabinet minister, it says, shall appear. And yesterday, Madam Speaker, you pronounced that the CS in charge of energy and petroleum to appear next week on Tuesday. Why is it hard for the CS of Interior to come and brief the nation? And you remember, Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I was collecting signatures to have a special sitting on a matter that was of national importance. The CS of Interior decided to invite himself and do a lifestyle audit in some of the senior leaders in this republic. You have heard even the ADC Mutara that is being mentioned. The person who was purportedly deputy president belongs to, has even said, if that land belongs to me, give to the pastoralists, Madam Speaker. So I want to really appreciate, and you know Article 226, it is very clear that even after you leave that office, Madam Speaker, you are still being capable in what you did in that office at personal level. So even if these people despise, Madam Speaker, and we have seen today, Madam Speaker, that courts have convicted a former CS and a former person in charge due to Rio 2016 Olympic scandals. These are issues that we are discussing when you say abuse of office is not following the law that you have been provided. Madam Speaker, I request this issue of Laikipia is so urgent. I request when you pronounce, Madam Speaker, let the CS of Interior, Matiang'i, appear here, the IG Inspector Mutiambai, DCIO, and all senior security officers, and even CS for lands to appear before this House as a committee of the all.
Madam Speaker, first of all, let me say this statement request by Senator Lengwe is a very serious matter. Madam Speaker, the question raised by the Senator is actually pointing to a fact that animals are being, in fact, all the issues you have mentioned here are supposed to have been committed by police, security forces, people who are supposed to actually deal with provide security to the people of Kenya. Madam Speaker, last week on Monday, this week on Monday, I and other members of the Committee of National Security went to Laikipia. And in fact, on the, as a result of the question raised by our colleague from Laikipia, We went there and visited some places. In fact, the question then which was coming to our attention from Wananchi is that they are being attacked by people from across, the neighboring country of Baringo.
Second last.
But then the police were all over the place. At least some semblance of security was maintained in that place. But the people were pointing to a fact that there is, a conservancy somewhere there called Laikipia Nature Conservancy, which is actually a den of a lot of problems. A very big conservancy where nobody can enter, where a lot of animals are supposed to be inside, owned by, very big people in this country. And even the ones that are stolen are taken inside there. Military people are inside there, guarding I don't know what. In fact, the stories you get are really very disturbing. So, in fact, at least I was happy that some semblance of security was restored. The people have gone back to their homes, and the schools were reopening. It's surprising now again, this one is coming again from the other side of the county, that the police are actually now, profiling the pastoralists and trying to kill the animals. This is very serious. In fact, this question is not talking about the Wananchi fighting themselves. It's talking about the police fighting the people. It's talking about the police killing animals. This is a very serious matter. Madam Speaker, it's totally unacceptable. In fact, as I said by my colleagues, we are not going to pit Kenyans against Kenyans, but it's the government is supposed to provide security to Kenyans, and they must deal with this matter. Laikipia borders about 4 counties. I think the Isiolo on one side, Baringo on the other side, and Nyandarua, Samburu. And all these people, because in that environment, I think there must be some discussion on how to live together. But the issue of big conservancies in the name of, some wazungus, where, animals are not able to, I think when the leases are ending, we must be coming with a solution where we are going to actually revert back to Kenya, to Kenyans, so that, we are going to have people graze their animals. But I think there must be, point of order?
What's your point of order, Senator Ledama?
I'm sorry, Madam Speaker, it's actually a point of information. And I would like
Does he want to be informed?
That's what I'd like to ask my brother.
Okay, it's okay, ma'am.
Actually, Madam Speaker, the leases lapsed. And cleverly, they were renewed without the people, the indigenous people, interest being taken into consideration. Those leases lapsed. When you go back to the history, those leases were signed in 1904, they lapsed, And now we asked very pertinent question. Why is it that when this lease is lapsed, the original inhabitants of the land were not considered for even a portion of the land? This is the thing that really pains me, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I think I will suggest then, because as a committee, when we were on the side, we said we are going to make a report and also invite the Minister of Interior here to go through this. But what's coming from the members now, we would like to take the way we did with energy yesterday, that the security ministry must be invited, or the committee of the whole, to take us through this, so that we can have both the questions from Lilengwe and from my colleague from Samburu and from Ndritu, and the issues raised here to be canvassed properly, so that we deal with this matter, in a very serious matter. I thank you. I will be able to inform, of course, my colleague Fatuma is from that committee. We are only 2 here, but we'll tell the chair so that that matter is done. I think we can direct that early next week we have these people here so that we can look at this matter in a very serious matter. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mahmoud. I think he has given us a bit of direction, being a member of the committee. So I expect the next contributions to be very short. Let's shorten now that members of the committee are ready to deal with the matter alongside the other matter. Senator Wario Kolich Juma.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipatia nafasi hii. Bi Speaker, kwa kweli arifa hii imetoka wakati mwafaka kabisa. Kwa kweli wakati huu ni wakati wa kiangazi kuu ambao wafugaji wanapata shida na mifugo yao. Na hali vile ilivyo huko Laikipia ni hali ya kutatanisha zaidi. Na maafisa wa polisi ambao wako pande hiyo wamefanya hali hiyo kuwa ngumu zaidi kuliko kurahisishia watu ya Laikipia, kwa sababu wakati ng'ombe halaiki 5,000 itauawa na askari wa Kenya. Hiyo ni hali ngumu, sababu wafugaji wakati huu mnajua hali yao ni ngumu. Na Bi Speaker, hebu angalia ng'ombe 5,000 ni kama shilingi milioni 200 ambazo zimepotea, na shilingi milioni 200 ni pesa mingi sana kwa wafugaji, hasa wakati huu wa kiangazi. Bi Speaker, kwa kweli mimi sijui askari ya Kenya wamefundishwa namna gani, kwa sababu ingekuwa wangesaidia wafugaji wakati huu, lakini sio kuwa halaiki ya ng'ombe. Pande hiyo ya Tana River saa hii hali ni ngumu zaidi, na pia shida ambayo inafanana na hiyo inakumba wafugaji, sababu kiangazi ni ngumu, malisho ni haba, hata mahali pa kupata maji, hasa pande ya Galana Kulalo ambao project ya serikali inafanyika, ng'ombe wanashindwa kufikia mto wa Sabaki, sababu kuna mradi wa serikali unafanyika pande hiyo, basi haki haipatikani. Hali inafanana kama ile ya Laikipia, sababu mifugo hawapati mahali pa malisho, na kwenda kupata maji pia ni ngumu, sababu kuna project ya serikali inafanyika ya food security, na hakuna food security inafanyika pande hiyo. Bi Speaker, ni ukora mtupu, sababu wakati utasema ni food security na hakuna kitu inafanyika na watu hawawezi kufikia mto kupeleka ng'ombe yao maji, basi hiyo itakuwa unamaliza watu na hali hiyo kuitatanisha zaidi. Bi Speaker, sisi wakati huu tunataka waziri hasa afike hapa kwa Seneti. Ninaunga mkono wenzangu senators waliotangulia, aje atueleze hasa ni nini inafanyika huko Laikipia, na pia katika arifa hiyo ongeze vile watu wa Tana River wanaweza fikia mto Sabaki waweze kupata maji ya ng'ombe yao, na wao waweze kupata maji, sababu hatuwezi peleka project ya serikali mahali ili watu ambao wanalisha pande hiyo wawe wanapata shida kupitia hivyo. Na hasa hivi majuzi rais wa Kenya alitangaza hiyo kingazi ya Tana River kama disaster ya national, na kama hali hiyo itakuwa hivyo, basi watu waruhusiwe waingie katika Savo East Park waweze kulisha mifugo yao, kwa sababu pande hiyo kuna nyasi, na wale watu ambao wako karibu na kuishi karibu na hiyo park, ng'ombe zao zinaisha bila kupata lishe mzuri. Asante, ninaunga mkono arifa ambayo imetolewa na Senator Lelegwe.
Thank you. Senator Milgo Alice Chepkorir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to support this statement from Senator Lelegwe. And I want to say, actually, this is a very serious matter which should be addressed as a matter of urgency. Madam Speaker, recently the President of the Republic of Kenya declared drought as a national disaster, and our worry was in the pastoral areas, shortage of grass and water is going to kill cows. It is quite unfortunate that we are hearing the fact that security men went out instead of protecting our people, they are going ahead to kill cows themselves. And in this case, this is actually destroying the livelihoods of these pastoralist people. Madam Speaker, the issues of this pastoralist region, the issues in the North Rift, I think Kerio Farley, we have had Parinko, we've had Laikipia, and various areas suffering from this conflict, Madam Speaker. And this has gone on year in, year end. We are speaking to it today, and if no serious stand or strategy is undertaken, we shall be speaking about this. It is put to rest. For the last several years, we've been hearing about these conflicts taking place, and nobody ever solves it. it actually escalates when it is nearing electioneering period. We do not know whether people are using this to settle scores with their opponents or they are just by sheer chance. But what it is that I think the Land Commission is also to blame, because when we have chunks and chunks of land, I think I heard the senator of Turkana saying, normally the pastoralists find that there are people who have fenced up large chunks of land, there is a lot of grass, and in this, and for that matter, cows cannot be allowed to just die when somebody is leaving idle land and there is grass. Madam Speaker, I heard about the 15,000 acres being spoken to as being ADC farm. I think instead of wasting a lot of money in Kulalo irrigation scheme, which has since its inception, it has never produced any food, I think those particular areas should be used to grow grass for this particular pastoralist, so that right now we could, in this case, be distributing the grass. In addition to that, we should have the National Drought Management Authority to go out and drill water for this particular pastoralist, so that we do not have that conflict, because conflict comes as a result of looking for pasture as well as looking for water. As Madam Speaker, I think the Interior Ministry should come out clean and explain to this House why the security men, instead of going to protect property and the people, went ahead to actually destroy property, went ahead to cause more conflict, and I think by so doing, that conflict is not going to end in the near future, Madam Speaker. This is a challenge. I think yesterday we were talking about petroleum, which was so much of a challenge, which is affecting the livelihoods of our people, and this is another matter that should be brought to the House of the Whole, so that we can speak to these matters once and for all. And I think we should have the Land Ministry also speaking to this, to tell us what is happening to chunks and chunks of land that are actually kept in that particular area, while pastoralists have been pushed and pushed until eventually they have got nowhere to keep their hearts. Madam Speaker, I support this statement, and I hope a solution will be found. That is, a lasting solution will be found once and for all. Thank you, and I thank the Senator for bringing this statement.
Thank you very much. Bomet and Bomet, why don't we have Senator Sakaja in between the two Bomets? No, he will take 3 minutes.
I won't take long.
You know, Sakaja is to the point always.
We might have a Bomet overdose. And the people of Bomet will be shocked. Madam Speaker, I just want to say a few things. First, serious and deep condolences to people who've lost their lives during this time in Laikipia, and those who've lost their property. Livestock is property as well. We have cyclic problems in this country, and many times, Madam Speaker, you know, they say, I think it's Albert Einstein who said, trying to do the same thing the same way and expecting different results is the height of insanity, Madam Speaker. I remember in the last parliament when I chaired the Committee of Cohesion and Equal Opportunities, Madam Speaker, we went to Baragoi, we went to Maralal, we went to Lokwar, Nakusa, and Turkana, all these places on the same exact issues. I've heard Senator of Tana River speaking, and in fact, I remember even coming to Tana River, and it was so painful that they're talking about drought, yet there's a very big river, Tana, just flowing past. We've never been able to take advantage of that. If you go to Kipini, and you see the gushes of, liters, millions of liters of that river flowing into the sea, into the ocean, yet people are dying of hunger, there's something wrong with us. It cannot be 10 years and more years where every year we'll talk about drought in this country. So, Madam Speaker, something must be done. Number two, really, because I was following the proceedings, Madam Speaker, I think it is very unfortunate how we allowed this to degenerate into, lambasting the Committee on Security. Madam Speaker, I have chaired that committee for 2 years, and I know the work in that committee is not easy. I think every member in this House is able in any committee. There's no committee that, Madam Speaker, has less able members. We need to support them in the work they're doing. Madam Speaker, when we berate each other, the people of the counties where the chair is coming from, for instance, are listening. And we're trying to tell them the senator is useless. Madam Speaker, I think it is very unfair, and we need to have a habit of having frequent kamkunjis. Some things we can discuss internally, but not in front of the people. I have confidence, and Senator Mahmood has told us what they tried to do before and the angle that has come out today. Madam Speaker, livestock is property as well. The biggest issue that I'm seeing coming out, which is very dangerous, and I think Senator Lelegwe has brought it out, when there's a section in this country of people who feel that their lives or their livelihoods, their way of living, is seen to be below par from other people's way of living, then you're courting disaster. Madam Speaker, it cannot be that a section of Kenyans feel that because they are livestock farmers, that the government does not care for them. In the same way we've seen coffee farmers, maize farmers being given subsidies, being given seeds, being given fertilizer, livestock farmers must also, Madam Speaker, be given water, be given grass during the time that they're going through. They are also as Kenyan as everybody else. A first-class country can never have a second-class citizen, Madam Speaker. And I think that is an angle we need to look at very seriously. Madam Speaker, finally, I just want to say that nothing in this House is done in vain. Madam Speaker, we must have confidence in the actions of our committees and the actions of this House. It cannot be, and I'm glad that we've said, and it has been said in a very resolute manner, that the CS must come. That this House just talks about issues, and then it is swept under the carpet. Madam Speaker, I have just come back from, I was in Korogosho right now, with actually somebody, Ledama will be very interested in, the president of the Toronto Raptors, called Masai Ujiri, and we were launching some basketball court. But after that, I decided to take a walk in Kariobangi and Korogosho, and the Wananchi, all of them are telling me, please, we have faith in you and in the Senate that you can address this issue of mafuta, Madam Speaker. If the public have such confidence in us, the people of Samburu and people of Laikipia have confidence in us, Madam Speaker, we cannot be the ones exuding inferiority complex in terms of our capacity. The issue of fuel, we will sort out. We must sort out. This issue of Laikipia, we must sort out. We must believe in ourselves as a House before expecting Kenyans to believe in ourselves. And we cannot let any individual, any institution, any ministry try to tell us any less than what Article 96 and 95 tells us in terms of our role. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support this statement.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Langat, Christopher Andrew.
I say, thank you, Madam Speaker, for also giving me this opportunity to make my contribution on this very important statement from the senator from Laikipia. I want to say, Madam Speaker, that this is the right House
now
to do this.
You are addressing the one of the senator of Samburu.
I'm actually addressing you. This is the right House to address this particular issue. So I want to say that the way these things are happening, unless we handle it with a lot of care, it can degenerate to ethnic clashes. Because, you know, Laikipia is a fully cosmopolitan county. And if the government does not handle this issue seriously, you know, it can lead to more problems. Because, Madam Speaker, you see, as Senator Ledama was saying, the government has failed for a long time to address the actual problem that is causing these other issues. You know what the government is doing is providing painkillers or massaging the issue, going to make a conflict between the crop farmers and the livestock farmers. That will not bring a solution. Going there to kill 5,000 livestock, that will not bring the solution to the problem. So I want to say that, first of all, we must stand as the Senate to make sure that the government compensate those particular farmers. They must compensate them. That is an immediate solution to that problem. But the long-lasting solution, Madam Speaker, is that the government must address the land issues, the historical injustices that has affected that particular place for a long time. How could a government renew the leasing agreements without involving the locals? I've heard also in Kericho and Bomet that the same government has renewed the leasing agreements, which was done in the 19th century, between, instead of actually conducting the locals. Say that those particular owners of the tea plantations have renewed the lease agreement for how many years again without involving the locals. And now the locals are suffering. They don't have lands, yet that was their original land. So I must agree with Senator Ledama that the land issue must be addressed. The historical injustices of the land must be addressed. Can you see this particular scenario in Laikipia, Madam Speaker? Those particular whites, those great owners of those ranches, They have, in fact, they have fenced their land with electricity, without even counting these 5,000 cattle that have suffered through these particular areas works of the police. First of all, their cattle have been dying because of, one, the animals have been attacking them and no compensation has been taking place. Number two, most of these animals are always killed through electrocution. They die, and the government and those particular people have never compensated them. So I must say, these people must be compensated. That is one. Number two, historical land injustices must be addressed effectively by the government. Number four, provision of water. You see, another issue is simple lack of water in those particular places. So I must say, the government must make sure that they provide water so that this particular water might not become a source of conflicts. And lastly, the issue of those ranches that they are profiled, that they belong to some people. In fact, I am happy that the Deputy President had said that if some people are thinking that I have got a ranch there, let it be given to the locals by the government. When the Minister for Security or Interior comes here and profile people based on the property they have without using proper information that they have, that is very wrong. So I am proposing that the whole House must face the Minister of Interior so that particular person may answer effectively the question from all of us concerning those particular issues affecting the people in Laikipia. Otherwise, we are not happy because the situation is almost degenerating to ethnic conflicts, which we want to avoid at all costs. So I support Senator from Laikipia for bringing this particular,
From
Samburu, for bringing this particular statement. It is very important because somehow I've seen actually that those particular soldiers, the security personnel, are sidelining some communities. You see, when they go there and instead of providing security, they kill the animals. That is making the situation worse. So it is very important that we make it a committee of the whole so that the Minister for Interior comes here and settle this matter once and for all. And I'm shocked, I want to repeat what I said last week, that the minister is so fast in actually sending the security personnel to funeral, I don't know to protect who, instead of sending to such sensitive areas. In fact, the proactive measures are not there. They just wait until things goes to us and then they react. I was surprised when we were in the funeral of Senator Prengei, by the way. We were surprised that while we were in the middle of the service, we saw 4 lorries with general service personnel being dropped in a place where there is no insecurity. Everybody was peaceful, people were mourning, and then all of a sudden, they sent those particular people instead of sending them to Laikipia. I tend to think the minister actually is not addressing this issue effectively, and he should come and answer loud question in this particular house. I support that particular statement, Madam Speaker, and really the minister must come here. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Argura Kodana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this statement by Senator Dr. Lelegwe on the unfair treatment of members of Samburu community living in Laikipia and their malicious killing of their livestock. Madam Speaker, one problem I've seen with us Kenyans is that we conveniently want to forget history and start as if things happened yesterday. Madam Speaker, these are historical issues, and in fact, the better part of last evening and even this morning up to now was in a meeting trying to handle submission of historical land injustices which communities are submitting to NLC. And this has been the case we have been having. These are historical facts that these areas were pastoralist areas. And when the colonialists came with their mentality of what they call that land doesn't belong to anybody, or they call Terranuli, they came in and took the land and dispossessed these pastoralists. And the pastoral way of life is something which was despised very much by the colonialists. I can remember the case of Marsabit. When they came to Marsabit Mountains, they found the Rendile herders there with their camels. But they thought that that's a backward way of using the land, and they chased them out and brought in farmers from other parts, even outside these countries, and settled them there. And those are the kind of injustices we are having now. But this case of Laikipia, the livestock keepers, the way we normally live is you leave a part of your land, the better part for livestock grazing during the dry season, the fallback areas. Laikipia happen to be the fallback areas of Samburu's. But you see, you don't occupy your land always. The problem with the non-pastoralists is that for you to call a land yours, you must be settled there and your heart must be there. It's not that way. You have to divide your land. There are areas you come when the drought is biting. That's when you fall back there. And Laikipia look like a fallback area. But unfortunately, you'll find when the colonialists came, they divided the lands. They preferred pastoralist, agricultural way of life to pastoralism. Now it has even gone further. Wildlife conservation is preferred to livestock keeping. Because you'll find if you overfly that area, large tracts of land are just fenced. The only thing you just see is the fence, and there's nothing with a few wildlife roaming the area. This time round, if there was a proper understanding, there should have been a way of allowing the pastoralists to graze in these conservancies during the dry season, because it doesn't occur always, it's only during the dry season. If there's a mechanism that to recognize that these people were here before, even if you have grabbed their lands, you should at least assist them during the dry season, not fencing off your land, putting electric fence, then you keep some few elephants inside there for the tourists to come and see, while the owners of those land are dying next to it with the animals. And that's what is happening now. Now it has reached a point where it's now Kenyans who are being forced against each other. It's the pastoralists coming, and the only land they are finding is the land where the other Kenyans are farming. That's where the conflict is coming from. These pastoralists were deflected from their lands through large tracts of land being grabbed by colonialists, leases extended, and then you say that is private land. I mean, you have to start from somewhere. Where was that land before it became private? It belonged to a community, and that community is still alive and is still practicing pastoralism. That is why always during the dry season you'll find those pastoralists there, because a pastoralist cannot watch his animal die when there's grass across the fence. And that's what we are experiencing. So the government needs to treat this in a very holistic manner, and the conservationists need to open up their conservancies to the originals of those land so that they can graze during the dry season. We don't want to carry the land or anything and occupy the way they are occupying for nothing. They should allow grazing during the dry season. Even in government parks, I'm sure sometimes they allow the communities to graze when it's very, the drought is biting. Then when it rains, they retreat and go back to the areas, and the conservancy area, the grass will generate again. But Madam Speaker, I think the government need to address this issue totally. The CS need to come, and this issue need to be addressed totally so that we don't ignore facts and then now use force to deny people their rights without giving alternatives, without understanding that these people have to be allowed to graze. Because that's what we do. Like, I'm from Marsabit, but during the dry season, our animals are in Samburu because their environment is better than ours. We cross into Samburu, we graze there, we go back. The same thing when it's dry, because Samburu, when they experience drought, they have cattle, they move into Laikipia. As we have camel, goats, and sheep, we move into Samburu. Their weather is better than ours. So that way, there must be that understanding. Otherwise, I support the statement, and I think that government have to be practical. History has to be taken into account. These are part of the historical land injustices we are addressing. They have to be addressed, and no life needs to be lost when there is enough land. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Samson Ongeri online. Then I'll come to Senator Malala. Senator Ongeri. Senator Ongeri, we can't hear you. Senator Malala, can you make your contribution because we want to wind up? When Nongeri comes in, we will
Thank you.
let him in.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I stand to support the statement by the good Senator, Senator Lelegwe, on the issue of insecurity in Laikipia County. Madam Speaker, these are of national importance, and therefore we must take keen interest in these matters as a Senate, and as a people's representative, we must make sure that we handle this matter to a logical conclusion, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as we speak right now, there are several families which have been displaced. There are several families which have lost their loved ones. There are several farmers and pastoralists who have lost their animals and livestock, Madam Speaker, and therefore it is important for us, Madam Speaker, when we deal with this matter, we deal with this matter with the seriousness it deserves. I want to join my colleagues in saying that we need to call the relevant officers who are handling this matter. The CS Interior must appear before this House, Madam Speaker, and not just before a security committee. No, this matter is a matter of national importance, and I will. 2016, the Pokots, the Samburus, the Maasais have lost almost 5,000 livestock, Madam Speaker. This is unacceptable. As Senator Sakaja has said, livestock is property, and every citizen of this country has the right to have his property secured by government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've seen efforts by the national government trying to ensure that they implement the security policies in Laikipia. The other day, through a Gazette notice, I think on September 9th, they gazetted a new sub-county. That is a good step, Madam Speaker, because a sub-county means that we shall have better services and functions of the national government nearer the people of Laikipia. But will we be reactional on every problem we have as a country, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, it means that next time when we have a problem in Kakamega County, then Matiang'i will run there with a sub-county and give the people of Kakamega. It means that next year when people in Siaya County will be fighting about maybe the resources like fish, then the Siaya people will be given a sub-county, Madam Speaker. We need to stop being reactionary on issues, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was listening pensively to the CS Interior, Matiang'i. He was trying to put blame on politicians. I want to ask Matiang'i to stop wanting to put blame on people who are not the cause of this thing. Let him concentrate on his work. The issue of him standing in any function and wanting to demean politicians. I want to remind Matiang'i that politicians are elected leaders. We are leaders elected by our people to represent them. And therefore, you do not have the monopoly of demeaning us in public functions. Madam Speaker, it is very serious. The other day I saw him addressing people in Laikipia, saying that kuna watu washenzi hapa wanajifanya wanasiasa kwa sababu wana incite watu. Matiang'i, listen to us. We are elected leaders. Address us with respect. The respect we deserve, Madam Speaker. Because we represent our people. We have the right to talk to our people. Today, Senator Lelegwe has brought an issue affecting his people to the Senate. So why should you then go to a public function and want to try and demean the very person who is trying to help his people? And therefore, the recent political arrests, Madam Speaker, are not giving us a solution to this matter. I want to call upon the relevant agencies, the prosecutory organs of this Republic of Kenya, Madam Speaker, to delve deep into this issue and stop hiding behind politicians. We have been elected by our people. For what reason would Senator Olekina be wanting to kill his people or livestock of Narok? Senator Olekina has got the interest of the people of Narok. To what interest would Senator Orengo be having to disadvantage the people of Siaya? To what interest would Senator Malala be having to kill and torment his people, Madam Speaker? And therefore it is important
for government to know that when you are doing a political arrests, you are not sorting out the problem and you are not uprooting the very, very cause of this reason. And therefore, it is important, and I still insist, Madam Speaker, the national intelligence has failed us. Because, Madam Speaker, up to now, we are not even sure on what is causing the skirmishes in Laikipia. We don't know if it's the 2022 elections. We don't know if it's the problem of the rich versus the poor, because I've been told that there is a very sharp rift between the white settlers and the pastoralists, Madam Speaker. We need to address this issue. Let the national intelligence tell us what is the root cause before we start running around arresting politicians, creating sub-counties, making public pronouncements that are not helping us sort out this matter. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to take this opportunity lastly to thank the senator who has brought this statement. Senator Lelegwe, you have the interest of your people at heart. And I want to tell the people of Laikipia today that, and Samburu in general, as a community, that you have a person who cares for you, who thinks about you, and who has the best interest for your community at heart. And therefore, Senator Lelegwe, you have shown us the way. We shall also stand behind you and insist that this matter must be sorted out once and for all. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Finally, Senator John Kinyua online.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
Madam Speaker, I want to add my voice on that
See
statement.
your face.
Madam Speaker, my network is bad. If I put on the video, I lose it. Madam Speaker, if you allow me to continue.
Do the video, we see your face, and then you can switch.
Madam Speaker, I am in Rumuruti where that issue happened. First, I want to thank the Security Committee because they visited Laikipia and they went to Ormoran. They went to a place called Wangwashi.
Senator Kinyua, members want to see your face. Just put on the camera.
Madam Speaker, my camera is on. Madam Speaker.
How come we're not seeing you?
I don't know what's wrong with it because, Madam Speaker, my camera is on. I put it on.
You know, our rules are that we must see you so we know where you are.
I'm saying I'm in Rumuruti, Madam Speaker.
There are so
And
many
my camera is
places
on.
in Rumuruti. We want to know exactly where you are, whether you are seated or you are on a camelback or something.
No, I'm not on a Camelbank, Madam Speaker. I'm in a place called Marura, where this thing happened, Madam Speaker. And my camera is on.
We cannot see you, and they cannot pick your camera. And I'm seeing.
I don't know why, Madam Speaker.
And I'm already seeing points of order on how you are communicating to us. So we will leave it. You wait for. Yeah, wait. You wait for what we are about to decide, then you can be able to come and contribute.
But Madam Speaker, I just wanted to say that the Committee of Security came to Laikipia.
No, Senator Kinyua, we can't. Honorable members, we have listened to a good number of members because this was a very, very important statement. And the statement stands committed to the committee, the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations. We are also aware that the same committee has been to the same area following the statement that came from Senator Kinyua. I would like, therefore, to rule as follows: that the committee takes this new statement and adds to the previous statement so that we are able to get something more comprehensive. I'd like to give the committee up to Thursday. Then on Thursday, the interactive session between the House, as requested by all members between the House and the security agents should be done. So you have, as a committee, you have between now and Thursday and Wednesday, and then on Thursday, let's have a session, a full house session with the security teams. It's so ordered. Thank you. Point of order from Senator Rengo.
Mr. Speaker, since we continue to have problems summoning CSS to sessions, and we are told, in fact, before this very committee, they were unsuccessful in getting the CS. For purposes of this matter, can a summon be sent to the CS instead of an invitation? Yes. Yeah, so that we don't just propose a meeting for Thursday, and we are not sure that they will come. In the circumstances in which there has been no compliance, I think it's important that they are actually summoned to appear. Otherwise, this matter may drag on for another month or so.
Thank you, that's well noted. Another point of order from Olakina, Dadam.
Madam Speaker, I also wanted to put in my 2 cents on this matter, and particularly on the issue of summoning. Now that we know practically, as per the rules and our standing orders, we have to give 7 days notice to be able to summon anyone to appear before the House. Would I suggest that you give directions and summons be sent for the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior and all the other security operators and the others who are requested by this House to appear before this House on a full House committee on Friday, because by then would have been able to comply with the law. Friday. If it's 7 days, if you count 7 days, it will be, even if it's served tomorrow, it will be Friday. I'm not so sure. You can look at the numbers.
Mohammed Malik.
Yes, Madam Speaker. In fact, I was going to take the same line my colleague has taken. From the chair, I think we could instruct that the security team led by the CS appear before the whole House, but also just on Thursday. I think because the matter is very serious, we can see how the 7 days period can be waived. But I think it's important that that instruction comes from the chair, so that instead of waiting for the security committee to invite him and summon him, matters as serious as it is, I think if it's possible, the chair directs, and that direction is followed by a letter from the clerk, of course. Then between now and that time, we can see what we can do as a committee.
Honorable Senators, summons in our standing orders are very clear. And we know how emotive this discussion was. It almost divided us in the House. So we don't want to break any of that. If you will accept, let's invite them to come on Thursday. Should they fail to come, then we can do the summons. And that will be on, alternatively, if we are going to do the summons, then it would have to be Friday. Yes.
Madam Speaker, indeed what you're saying is true. Summonses normally, according to our standing orders, are issued when the ministers fail to appear on a certain matter more than twice. But Madam Speaker, instead of using that word, if you direct that the minister appear at this and this date, it is not a summon, but it's a direction from your chair which must be followed. But the issue of summonses, in fact, I know many are really hesitant for that to be on their record, that they have been issued with summonses yet if they have been appearing before the committee. If you just give direction, Madam Speaker, that on this date, the Cabinet Secretary must appear and the IG before this committee on this matter, it will serve the same purpose. I think, yeah.
Yes, Senator Olekina.
Madam Speaker, we were earlier informed by a member of the Security Committee, Senator Linturi, that the CS has refused to appear before their committee. In fact, on other matter, he read clearly a letter which was written by a staffer in the office that the CS was busy with other matters. So this issue is very clear, Madam Speaker. You know, as per the Constitution, we have been referred back to the Constitution, I think it was Article 153, that even if there are rules, you know, let's issue these summons, let them appear here. Because once they appear here, we can be able to deal with that matter. The only time they will appear here is when Kenyans are going to see that we're dealing with this matter seriously. And we get it from your seat, Madam Speaker. You're very powerful. So direct, or we issue those summons, and we make sure that we can resolve these problems affecting Kenyans.
Senator Dandulo, then I'll come to Rengo, Senator Dandulo.
Madam Speaker, in as much as this matter is very sensitive, of course the issues of summon is very clear in standing orders. I would support the position given by Senator Sakaja to give directive to the minister to appear before the committee. I thank you.
Yes, Senator Rengo.
Madam Speaker, a directive of Speaker is not a constitutional instrument. It's just you speaking from the chair. It can apply to members. But out there is either invitation or a summons. And the reason why I'm saying summons, there's been an invitation already which has not been complied with on the same issue. It is not on another issue, it's on the same issue. And they have said, because of exigencies of duty, Senator Linturi, Linturi was here. Yeah, and as a member of the committee.
No, Senator, let's get information. Let's get information from.
But, Madam Speaker, the other thing which is very important.
Yeah.
Suppose we were in war. What would you do? I mean, by the time you invite him twice for him to refuse, then you summon, the matter would already have elapsed. Life would have moved on. We must create circumstances where the Senate can intervene at the right time. And I can assure you that this matter, if you don't deal with it within the next 7 days, then let's just deal with it as an ordinary business without expressing any kind of urgency. I'm beginning to feel, Madam Speaker, that we're becoming more and more toothless. Yes. These parliaments are becoming totally toothless. Yes. And even summoning a minister, it looks such a difficult thing to do. What I'm beginning to feel, I have never seen a situation where we have had a whole debate how helpless, members themselves were saying we are useless. I feel that Parliament must have full authority on this matter. And Senator Lelegwe, the statement could not wait for another week. It had to come now. Yes. So I plead with you, unless we want Parliament just be a talking shop, that this matter is so serious, and already the committee has been there, the minister has been invited, he says exigencies of duty, he will come on another day, unspecified day. I think this is the time for you to put your foot down and say you'll appear. If he doesn't appear, it will not be our problem. It will be his problem because we know how to deal with it. And I know the courts sometimes were very hesitant about punishing ministers for non-compliance, but they're now doing it. And non-compliance with a summons is a constitutional violation because it's a right that flows from the law. It can be a basis for
I think, Madam Speaker,
yeah, just information.
the matter which Senator Linturi referred to actually was not on this matter. The minister was invited for a meeting of joint sitting of the National Security Committee and JLAC to discuss matters of boundaries. So it's not true that we invited him for this matter and they declined to come. Much as serious as this, it was not the same matter. In fact, that matter was a different one, which was the joint sitting of both committees of security and legal affairs. Thank you. But I still think that what Sakaja said, maybe direction from the chair is very strong. I don't know.
Honorable Senators,
I don't
I
know.
said the difference was 1 day. Whether the committee was going to be available on Friday for the summons and whether members would be available on Friday. And we know what our Fridays are. So really, it's us who will not be available on the Friday because a lot of us move. So call it direction. Even what I gave earlier was a direction, by the way. That we invite, let him come or not come on the Thursday, so that we don't go beyond Thursday. We want a day when all members are available, and then we'll be able to handle it from there. I think that does not reduce the powers of the committee, neither does it reduce the powers of the House. So I would like to still persuade you to accept my earlier ruling that we invite the minister to come on Thursday, or what did we say? Direct the minister to appear on Thursday, because Friday is going to be a problem. Alternatively, we move to the next week. Yes, Senator Olegina.
Madam Speaker, my only challenge with the direction is that if we invite the Cabinet Secretary and he failed to appear with the security operators and they failed to appear on Thursday, it means that for us to summon and to compel his appearance, we have to give him 7-day notice. So the only time that he can be able to appear will be the next Friday or the other week. So this issue of invitation, and Madam Speaker, let's just divorce our interest from the interest of the people. We might have an interest with the Interior Ministry or the security operators in this country, but this time we are dealing with the issue of people whose livelihood is being affected. So I would like to beseech you that we don't dilly-dally on this matter. We proceed and issue summons. Let's deal with this matter. It's a matter of national security. If the president himself can declare the drought issue in Laikipia and countrywide as a national security, the issue of our cows being killed, people living without, Madam Speaker, there are people who cannot go to school. We want sanity.
Senator
So
Ladama.
I really would like to plead with you that instead of dilly-dallying, let us move ahead and summon, let him appear on Friday. We will come here. We are elected to represent the people. What business will we have going to the grassroots if we cannot be able to deal with a matter of national concern? So I really would like to plead with you that instead of wasting our time, let us issue the summons, because invitations will not be honored.
Honorable Senators, the issue was, do we summon him to come on Friday? And the question was whether the members will be here for Friday. I think that is what we are saying, that because Friday becomes tricky for most members, and we don't want, again, to fail the same public by not appearing on the Friday. Fridays have been a disaster for our committees. So the question was, do we do that, or we invite him, direct him to come on the Thursday, and then if he doesn't come, then we deal with it? Because I can see the consensus is, I had already directed, and please let's stick to that. Let's invite on Thursday, yes? As Senator, whether you direct or somebody who has the intentions of not coming will not come. In your own words, But that's why I'm saying, can we allow, yes? Yes.
Madam Speaker, it matters how that directive is given. If you from there announce that this House directs that the minister appears on Thursday before a committee of the whole, is different from the chair of the committee issuing an invitation. It has happened before. There's been precedents. Remember the day when the senators were arrested? Within 2 hours, Matiang'i was here. Who? The day when the senators were arrested. Eh? I'm talking about both sides. He came. We are arguing on different things. I'm saying
I think, yeah.
instruction from there actually is weightier than instruction committee issuing it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's release that instruction from the speaker's hand that the security apparatus appear on Thursday. Let's deal with it at that time. 10 o'clock and appear before the whole house. Thank you. Next statement is pursuant to Standing Order 52-1. The Senate Majority Leader to issue a statement on the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, 21st September 2021. Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Pursuant to Standing Order 52-1, I hereby present to the Senate the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, 21st September 2021. Before I proceed with the statement, allow me to take this opportunity to thank all honorable senators for passing 5 bills yesterday, Wednesday, 15th September 2021, which are now being prepared for transmission to the National Assembly. The bills are the County Government Grants Bill, Senate Bill number 35 of 2021. Number 2, the Mental Health Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 28 of 2021. The Basic Education Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2021. The County Licensing Uniform Procedures Bill, Senate Bill number 32 of 2021. And the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 31 of 2021. Madam Speaker, looking forward, the interest of the Senate is still high. There are now 9 bills at the Committee of the Whole stage and 22 bills at the second reading. These bills are allocated slots in the weekly program of Senate business that is circulated every Friday. I urge respective movers to be on the lookout so as to know when the bills are scheduled on the order paper and to be available in the Senate for debate on the bills. Standing committees to which bills are referred are encouraged to expedite consideration and table reports thereon. Committee chairpersons and individual senators proposing amendments are likewise encouraged to be available in the chamber to move the same at the Committee of the Whole stage. Madam Speaker, on Tuesday, 21st September 2021, the Senate Business Committee will meet to consider and approve the business of the week. On that day, subject to approval by the committee, the Senate will consider bills at the second reading stage, bills at the Committee of the Whole stage, and motions on reports filed by select committees. On Wednesday, 22nd, and on Thursday, 23rd September 2021, the Senate will consider business that will not be concluded on Tuesday, 21st, and Wednesday, 22nd September 2021, respectively, and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee, including petitions and statements. Madam Speaker, as indicated at order number 9, 10, and 11 in today's order paper, there are motions for reconstitution of membership of Select Committee without preempting debate on the substantive motions. The proposed changes are aimed at enhancing efficiency and effectiveness in committee business, and I urge honorable senators to consider these when making their contributions, since a large percentage of our work is done in committees. Madam Speaker, I thank you and hereby lay the statement on the table of the Senate. I thank you.
Next order. Order number 8, motion, approval of Senator John Kenyo Nderitu, MP, to serve in the Speaker's panel and preside over the Senate in the absence of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to move the motion approval of of Senator John Kinyua Nderito MP to serve in the Speaker's panel and preside over the Senate in the absence of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. That pursuant to Standing Order 17, the Senate approves the nomination of Senator John Nderito Kinyua MP as a member of the Speaker's panel and further to be elected to preside over the Senate in the absence of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker pursuant to Article 1071C of the Constitution and Standing Order 15 of the Senate. Madam Speaker, I think I don't have to delve so much on this matter. Madam Speaker, we are replacing Senator Mwaura, who is actually not in the chamber because of the matters that transpired, so as to have somebody to actually represent his, to sit on his behalf. This is the reason why the House decided to elect Senator John Kinyua to take over that position to enable the House to proceed with its proceedings without any challenges. So I move, Madam Speaker. I thank you, and I'll request the Senator, Minority Leader, Senator Orengo to second. I thank you.
Madam Speaker, for the reasons that have been explained by the Majority Leader, I second.
Thank you, Senator. I propose the question that pursuant to Standing Order 17, the Senate approves the nomination of Senator John Kinyua Nderito, MP, as a member of the Speaker's panel and further to be elected to preside over the Senate in the absence of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker pursuant to Article 1071C of the Constitution and Standing Order 15 of the Senate. What's the point of order?
We're discussing a substantive matter of rearranging of committees here and Speaker's panel. The House has no quorum. So it will not be proper to discuss matters as this serious at this time.
Senator Dulo.
Madam Speaker, of course, I'm not disputing the position raised by Senator Mahmoud. I'm sure there are some members who could be online. We can allow the motion to proceed, but we can push the debate. It's by acclamation. But I'm requesting putting of the question to be done the next day of the sitting. I thank you.
Honorable Senators, the most important thing we should do is just to determine whether we have quorum or not. This is not an issue for debate here. So we can do that in the meantime. Whips. Do we have the whips here? And then online, we can check online. Quorum, so we can continue. So is there, I don't see any interest, so I put the question. Honorable Senators, I put the question that pursuant to Standing Order 17, the Senate approves the nomination of Senator John Kinyua Nderito, MP, as a member of the Speaker's panel, and further to be elected to preside over the Senate in the absence of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker pursuant to Article 1071C of the Constitution and Standing Order 15 of the Senate. And this does not concern the county, so I will put the question. May as many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. And those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, approval of senators to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the motion that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on 14th February 2018 and 24th June 2020 on the approval of senators to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges and pursuant to Section 15(1) B2 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act and Standing Order 189, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges. Number 1, Senator Canon Naomi Wako, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Alice Milgo, MP. Number 2, Senator Christine Zawadi Gona, MP, to replace Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, MP. And finally, Senator Abdul Kadir Mohamed Haji, MP, to replace Senator Kimani Wamatangi. Madam Speaker, without spending a lot of time, I've explained in the Majority Leader's statement. The reason is very clear. So I move the motion and I'll request Senator James Orengo to second. I thank.
Madam Speaker, again, for the reasons stated, I do second the motion.
Thank you, Senior Senator. I propose the question that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on the 14th February 2018 and 24th June 2020 on the approval of senators to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges and pursuant to Section 15(1) B2 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, the Standing Order 189, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges. Number 1, Senator Canon Naomi Wako, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Alice Milgo, MP. 2, Senator Christine Zawadi Gona, MP, to replace Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, MP. And 3, Senator Haji Abdul Mohamed, MP, to replace Senator Kimani Wamatangi, MP. Honorable Senators, I don't see any interest, so I will go ahead and put the question. Honorable Senators, I put a question which is that notwithstanding the resolution of the Senate made on the 14th February 2018 and 24th June 2020 on the approval of senators to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges and pursuant to Section 15(1) B2 of the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, the Standing Order 189, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Committee of Powers and Privileges. 1, Senator Canon Naomi Wako, MP, to replace Senator Dr. Alice Milgo, MP. 2, Senator Christine Zawadi Gona, MP, to replace Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, EGH, MP. And 3, Senator Haji Abdul Mohamed, MP, to replace Senator Kimani Wamatangi, MP. Thank you, Senators. Next order. Oh, sorry. As many as are of the opinion say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The nays have it. Next order.
Order number 10. Motion, approval of Senator Professor Samson Ongeri.
Honorable Senators, let's have some order.
Order number 10, motion, approval of Senator Professor Samson Ongeri, EGH MP, to serve in the Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation.
Majority Leader.
Speaker,
Senator Senior.
Madam Speaker, I can hear what Senator Cheregai is saying. He's come here with a hatchet. But, Madam Speaker, I think to be realistic, during the day, I was not quite satisfied that we are all reading from the same script on the question of the reconstitution of these committees. And therefore, instead of just proceeding and knowing the likely outcome, I stand under Standing Order number 105, paragraph 1, and move that order number 10 and 11 be deferred, debate to be deferred on those two orders. And if that happens, Madam Speaker, I would suggest that before we bring this motion to the House, the two motions, we have a Kamkuji the earliest part of next week, so that there's general agreement. My position normally is that the constitutional committees is a mandate of the House. And if the House is not in agreement, then it cannot really be called a committee of the House. So, Madam Speaker, I do move and ask for a volunteer to second.
It is after. Okay. Honorable Senators, I understand the request by the Majority Leader, but according to Standing Order number 105, the adjournment or debate should be made after the motion has been read and seconded, and then thereafter we can.
It would be really an exercise in futility if the Majority Leader would, move, somebody seconds, then in the next order we follow. I ask you then to use Standing Order number 1 to defer debate on those two orders, and that we come on for a Kamkunji on Tuesday to resolve this issue.
Yeah, Honorable Senators, whichever way it was still going to bring us to the same. So I would use my discretion to suspend the two, that is number 10, to defer 10 and 11 for next time they are listed. So we move on to the next order.
Order number 12, the Law of Succession Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 15 of 2021, second reading.
I don't see Senator Halake in the House. Next order. So that one is deferred.
Order number 13, the Public-Private Partnership Bill, National Assembly Bills number 6 of 2021.
Senator Majority Leader, that is on the second reading. Majority Leader, are you ready to move that one? Number 13. You are not ready? So we defer it also. Next order.
Order number 14, the County Hall of Fame Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2021, second reading.
Is Senator Murkomen in the House? He was around, but I don't see him, so we defer that one also. Next order.
Order number 15, the Disaster Risk Management Bill, Senate Bills number 14 of 2021, second reading.
That one is Senator Sakaja. Are you ready to move forward? Okay. So Senator Sakaja.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm always ready. I didn't think it would come today, but this being a bill that I sponsored jointly with Senator Mutula, I am able to move it. So, Madam Speaker, I beg to move, Madam Speaker, that the Disaster Risk Management Bill of 2021 be read a second time. Madam Speaker, this bill is a very important bill. This is one of the bills, Madam Speaker, that this House had already passed. And subject, or rather subsequent to the court ruling, the ruling which was made in favor of the Senate, then this bill was one of those that had to be republished. But we had already passed it as a Senate, and this bill had gone onward transmission to the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, really, the reasoning behind this bill, or the purpose of this bill, is to establish a model, or rather a system through which we can manage the disasters in this country. Madam Speaker, this is to establish the National Disaster Risk Management Authority and county disaster risk management committees to provide for a legal framework, Madam Speaker, for the coordination of disaster risk management activities and for connected purposes. And Madam Speaker, I will urge members to really go through. The bill is available on the devices, and any member can be able to access it. Very quickly, Madam Speaker, I think we all know what has been happening across the country. And I'll give really an example. In Nairobi, every so often, every 2 weeks, every month, there is a fire. There is some form of disaster or another. We had a building collapse recently. We've had workers at a construction site where an entire crane fell and killed a few people just on the day when we were having this funeral service for Senator Prengei. And it's almost become a norm. Madam Speaker, in fact, I at some point said I've stopped going to Gikomba, because every so often we go there, we make huge statements, but there is no authority that really can follow up the arson in Gikomba market. Madam Speaker, it has been a pain to me as a senator for Nairobi that, property worth millions, lives are at risk, property is lost every so often when a disaster strikes. Yet there is no model or framework through which it can be dealt with. Just the other day, Madam Speaker, there was a fire in Westlands, in Kibagare. And it's just because I was able to pick up my phone and call the relevant authority, the people on the ground didn't know who to call. It cannot be then that we respond to disasters based on who knows the senator, or who knows the governor, or who knows the CEC. There must be a number and there must be a hotline. Madam Speaker, I remember very well, while we were doing this bill, at some point, the Senate Security Committee, that time I was rather the deputy chair, but I was holding fort for Senator Yusuf Haji, and we looked at British Columbia and Vancouver, and the model through which they manage their disasters and their hotlines, and the response time of less than 3 minutes to any disaster. A lot of lives that we have lost in Nairobi City could have been saved if we had a proper framework for disaster management. A lot of property that has gone up, and many of us, Madam Speaker, in our culture, many people don't insure their property. Madam Speaker, a lot of property could be saved. Incidentally, and I'm confident enough to say this, and I will not shy out of it because it might be a bit political. When I've done investigations on a lot of the fires in Gikomba, Madam Speaker, those fires have been caused by 3 reasons. The first reason, Madam Speaker, is people who've been prospecting for that land. And we've made pronouncements that that is public land, the entire 12 acres. No one should think that you'll ban and move the traders away. But the second 2 reasons, Madam Speaker, are the ones which are much more disturbing. There's a section of certain traders, Madam Speaker, and we know some of them, and we've raised this issue severally, who, when the insurance is about to run out, they cause a fire so that they can claim insurance when their stock is about to run out, yet they're jeopardizing the livelihoods of many more other traders. And that's why I'm not afraid to say it. Finally, Madam Speaker, there's been accident, either electrical fault. We have these ladies, the mamas who cook githeri, and the githeri is burning overnight, and sometimes we have our street boys who are enjoying the fire and maybe, you know, some sparks fly. And that has been another reason. But Madam Speaker, the second reason of insurance-based arson, as well as the reason of land prospecting, Madam Speaker, really needs to be dealt with. So, Madam Speaker, this bill wants to ensure that, number one, there is coordination between the national government and the county governments when it comes to dealing with disaster. In many counties don't have the capacity that Nairobi has. And even Nairobi, despite having the biggest capacity, has not been doing well in managing disaster. Madam Speaker, we've proposed in many parts of this city, first of all, fire stations. Land has been grabbed where fire stations are supposed to be. Madam Speaker, people have built and encroached on the paths through which even a truck would come and bring relief or rescue the situation when there's been a disaster. Madam Speaker, there were some small buggies that I think Governor Kidero had bought, which were small quad bikes with water that would be able to go inside Gikomba, inside these markets when there's a disaster. But Madam Speaker, as the story been in many issues in my county of Nairobi, they disappeared. We don't know where they are. They're not being used. We used to have fire hydrants in this city. The fire hydrants, the red posts are along the streets, where in case of a disaster, because you call the fire engine, and once you've called the fire engine, they come and they say either they come without water, or they come and they quickly run out of water. There are many times Nairobians have almost lynched these people and sent them away. Because why would you come to the site of a disaster, a fire, without water, Madam Speaker? So we want to make sure that there is coordination of disaster risk management issues for national and county, and especially for counties that might not have the capacity. In the fourth schedule, Madam Speaker, disaster management is actually a concurrent function of both the national and the county level. And there could be national disasters that are beyond the scope of one county. For instance, if a disaster is between the county of Laikipia, Samburu, and Nyeri County, Madam Speaker, for instance, then that is dealt with jointly through the disaster coordination committees at the county, as well as the National Disaster Management Authority, because it's a shared function according to the fourth schedule. Madam Speaker, so we propose to bring together the National Disaster Operations Center that exists, the National Disaster Management Unit that is in existence, and the Department of Special Programs under the auspices of the proposed National Disaster Risk Management Authority. So we're not creating necessarily a new body. We have enough institutions. But you're bringing together institutions that for a long time have been, you know, too uncoordinated. The left doesn't know what the right is doing. Madam Speaker, you remember when the building collapsed in Huruma? And that time I was not the senator. But I went there and I spent 3 nights, Madam Speaker. I think 2 or 3 nights. I didn't leave the site. You remember? Throughout that time, Madam Speaker, I was so sad. The machines that I used to cut, because people were trapped in those buildings, to cut the steel bars, I, as a citizen, had to buy, yet I had military officers there, and NYS headquarters is so close. But they said because of the bureaucracy, they cannot get someone to approve a voucher to do what, so I had to buy that. The fuel, to fuel the generators, for those who are going into search, I had to do it personally as an individual. Madam Speaker, additionally, even getting milk and bread for those who are doing the rescue efforts, who are private citizens, had to be done by well-wishers. And I'm very grateful for many of my friends who came together, because when I had it, I just got into my car, went to a petrol station, filled it with milk and bread, and asked people to send, and they kept sending. The goodwill of the people of Nairobi is what has helped us survive in many of these disasters. We were standing there. Remember Mr. Kigoth, who was in charge of disaster then? His hands are tied. He wants to do one thing, the military want to do something different. Yeah? They want to do another thing, the NYS are trying to do something different. And that lack of coordination cost us lives. I remember painfully carrying bodies of dead children who did not deserve to die. So what we're trying to do, together with my brother Senator Mutula, is to first bring all of these units under one command of the National Disaster Management Risk Authority. And they will respond to many different disasters. Madam Speaker, even a terrorist attack can be seen as a disaster, because it has just happened. By the time it has happened, that authority must get wind of it, and they'll know now which agency is best suited to respond. Again, during the Westgate attack, and at that time I remember I was the patron of the National Gun Owners Association. It was a Saturday. At the range where we train civilian gun holders, I had just landed, I remember, from China. At the range where we were training them, the civilians were able to leave, because we trained with the GSU, the Recce squad. The civilians were able to leave and go to Westgate to start saving. And that's why I remember our Senator, Haji, the junior, was, you know, he came out distinguished trying to save lives. But Madam Speaker, the best qualified response team we have in Kenya, Recce squad, could not leave because of the chain of command and instructions to be released. That was the first disaster. But the second issue, what happened? A friend of ours, my friend Munene, who was an officer, was actually killed by friendly fire from another unit of our defense forces, Madam Speaker. That a GSU officer was killed by the military because of lack of coordination, because their signals are different. And I'm very glad that the president, and I really thank President Uhuru Kenyatta, because he's really supported our officers, was able now to have what we call joint command in the case of such. And that's why you saw when Dusit happened, the response was a bit different. I remember that time Governor Lenku talking about mattresses, I don't know what. It was a mess. It was a mess because of lack of coordination. So the main premise of this bill then is to approach disaster risk management in a manner that seeks first to respond effectively and in a timely manner to any disaster or risk of disaster. Second, also to prevent the adverse effects of disaster and recover as far as may be possible the livelihood of communities affected by a disaster. Many lives change, things are never the same after many of these disasters. And so I urge members to really support it. Enactment of this law, Madam Speaker, will assist in this efficient and effective management of disasters across the country. And if you go through the bill, Madam Speaker, part 1 is just the preliminary provisions where we've done definitions, Madam Speaker. We've defined different terms that we use, and then we've established this authority that then is the national coordination. And so in the county, Madam Speaker, we will have county disaster risk management committees where we have the leadership of the county together with those professionals who are required, and I will go through the clause that provides for that, so that there can be better coordination. So it's not just the CEC or the governor who is dealing with that, but you have the county, you also have the county commissioner, the national government, part of it, because many times the lack of coordination is between the county government and the national government at the same place. So you have a regional commissioner, or in the case of Nairobi, your county commissioner in your county, who is trying to head west, yet the county CEC of disaster, or the chief officer of disaster, is heading east, causing more problems, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we've established, of course, that as a focal point for coordination, and that focal point then coordinates with the national authority. A lot of the things that we seek to do include early warning signals. Madam Speaker, many disasters, including environmental disasters, early warning will help. When we were in the committee that dealt with the Solai tragedy, it is very sad that warnings had been given in advance on the matter of Solai, that this dam is going to burst its banks. But because there was no entity to which, you would say the buck stops when it comes to this, whether it is WARMA, the Water Resource Management Authority, or is it NEMA, or is it the county government, what happens is the classic case of there was something that anybody could do, but nobody did it because everybody thought somebody would do it. At the end of the day, nobody ended up doing it. And we lost lives. 49 children, Madam Speaker, died because of lack of such an entity. And that's why you need early warning signals. It is not lost upon us, Madam Speaker, the counties where we come from, where you come from around the lake, the flooding that happens every year, in Budalangi, the flooding that happens, I think, when Nyando bursts its banks, if I'm not wrong, River Nyando. There must be something that and I said earlier, insanity is doing the same thing every day, repeatedly, and expecting different results. So we need those early warning signals. And for us also to understand where are these hotspots. Madam Speaker, I can give you an example. In Nairobi, apart from the markets of Gikomba and some of the trade areas, one constituency that always has fire is Mathare constituency. We know it. We've told Kenya Power, and I remember going to Kenya Power, Senator, telling the management, please, come with us. Let us make sure there are safe connections. Because it is power connections. If you're charging people so much, they will take power for themselves. And you cannot let that vehicle will not enter Mathare unless it's accompanied by leaders. You remember Honorable Ndolo of the famous quote of Ukiona Wao. And he said weka tire, but he said in quotes, Madam Speaker, he meant when you see them and they have a puncture, help them by putting a tire. Of course, we know that's not what he meant. But Madam Speaker, that is what's happening in my county. Because of the high cost of living, and I've just explained today from Korogosho, where I've come and I walked through Kariobangi, they're just saying mafuta, fuel is too high. So because of that, people then get these illegal connections, and the tap electricity itself is very dangerous. But because of the load of that electricity, sometimes they even go into three-phase to go into the Mabati structures. There is a fire almost every 2 weeks. You can ask Honorable Loch, he'll tell you. And so as leaders, instead of always responding to these fires to look good, taking iron, galvanized sheets, taking wood for them to construct, Madam Speaker, this is a solution that then will outlast. Because we don't want to be ambulance chasers. That every time, yesterday there was a fire in Gatina, in Kawangware, and I've seen leaders went there today. We thank those leaders. Yeah, I saw His Excellency Musalia Mudavadi went there, he's given some support. Thank you. But that is not sustainable. We can't keep doing that. Madam Speaker, we can't keep going and speaking angrily that something must be done about Gikomba, something must be done about Westland, something must be done about Madari. This is what must be done. Creating that coordination with the early warning signals. For us, okay, so we know then this place is a hotspot because of power, let us address that issue. We know this other area of the industries is a hotspot because of the kind of effluent that they're releasing, let's deal with that issue. Then we will have a coordinated way of dealing with disasters in this country. Madam Speaker, we also provide for a fund. Madam Speaker, this provision, we've put it in such a way that it's not a money bill, because it's a provision on the establishment and objectives of what that fund will be. Then it gives power under the PFM, which is passed by the National Assembly, for then the Cabinet Secretary to do it. So in effect, we're not necessarily creating the fund here, but we're providing the framework through which that can be created, because we will need to resource disaster risk management. Madam Speaker, a county like Tana River, and the Senator is here, might not have, they have a lot of disaster, along the Tana, but they may not have the resources as a county to necessarily deal with it every year. Otherwise, it'll overshoot their budget at the county level. However, if you have this fund where there's sharing between the national government, the county government, also, Madam Speaker, even well-wishers who want to come and support, instead of trying to everyone bring your fire engines and whatnot, support that disaster management fund. There can be hotlines, we can have call centers where young people can volunteer and be picking up those calls. So that when there's anything that happens in any part of the city or of the country, then there is quick response from this management authority. There are also penalties of offenses under this bill. Madam Speaker, one of the entities that we said we're putting here is that Department of Special Programs. I don't know if you've had to deal with them. Madam Speaker, many times when I've had these issues in Nairobi, I have to go and, many times I've asked, you write a letter, and they used to be very cooperative. I don't know what's happened to them these days, unless something happened. And ask them for some flour, some maize, some rice, sometimes some building materials. And if you're lucky, and if they like you, maybe, they might give you some of these supplies. If they don't, they will take you around in circles and end up doing nothing. Madam Speaker, it cannot be that subjective, that any elected leader, or it depends on which side you are for you as an elected leader to go. Many people have come to ask me, please help me to get these supplies for my county. And I feel very bad that why am I able to go there, yet Senator Nyamunga, you're not able to. Or another senator. It must not be subjective. It must be very objective. In the case of a disaster, this is the kind of response we require, this is how much we're able to give, this is the formula we use. Recently I had a fire in Kamkunji. And again, I thank P.S. Kibicho and C.S. Matiang'i, because immediately I got in touch with them. They were able to tell me, okay, this is what we can do. I got the Honorable Yusuf, who is one of the most cooperative leaders in Nairobi. And quickly, I sent him there with resources. We gave the people something. We told them pole, and we built for them. As much as it works, it is not sustainable. That's why you have the rule of law, more than the rule of man. So today, if you don't like Senator Orengo and there's a disaster in Siaya, you just tell him, well, don't worry, tell the county commissioner to write to us. But if you like Senator Wario, then you help him. It cannot be like that. I think that discretion is wrong. But also it has led to a lot of corruption. Because when there is a lack of a proper system of accountability and who deals with this disaster, we find sometimes chiefs in some areas have been given maize or beans or supplies. Those supplies disappear. Or you find someone has been told to go buy msumari and, what do you call them, nails for traders to build. They go and collude with the hardware owners. That has been happening, and I've seen it. I'm not saying anywhere, I'm not pointing names, but if they're listening, they know themselves. So with this comes, this will be the end of that, because there will be accountability, there will be a repository or even stores to store some of these things so that we can help our people get back to their feet after a disaster. Madam Speaker, so those provisions have been provided, and offenses and penalties for anybody who, number one, misuses that fund. Number two, anybody who knowingly, for instance, some people can do prank calls. When we were children in Nairobi, we used to tap the phones. And you tap and you find you've called someone, you call 999 and tell the police that this and this has happened. or you tell the fire engine, this and this has happened, yet it has not happened. So if you're caught also lying, there must be a penalty, because imagine deploying 10 trucks to go all the way to the site of a disaster, yet there is nothing. And then there's an actual disaster elsewhere. You might actually cost lives of people. So we've given legislative powers that we delegated to the Cabinet Secretary responsible for matters related to this disaster risk management, as it is that is most likely the Minister for Devolution or Interior, actually, because some of these entities, and that was the problem. You find one entity is under this ministry, another NDOC is under another ministry, the disaster management unit is another ministry. So they'll be all under one minister who can be able to deal with that and to make sure that staffing is done. Of course, in the transitional provisions, we also provide for the transition. I remember the other bill I had done. You remember the first time we did one on National Employment Authority. The president sent it back, and I was very hurt. I thought he didn't like it, but he said, no, there already exists the bureau, so you must provide a transitional clause of how these people move from this bureau where they are now at the Ministry of Labor to the National Employment Authority. So this time round, I don't want him to return this bill, and so we provided for that transitional provision of how these people can be able to move to the new institution. Madam Speaker, of course, this concerns county governments, and it actually affects the functions, powers, and finances of a county, and we have noted that in this bill. But enactment of it, and why we said it's not a money bill, will not occasion additional expenditure to the public. Madam Speaker, I know I have a lot of time, and I will go on. So that when we come back, I think it can be, I'll continue moving so that I can be seconded by Senator Mutula. I know he'll really want to second this, and so I will proceed. Madam Speaker, of course, it's a body corporate. It's capable of suing and being sued and purchasing. Supposed to be done from. What has happened? It's been taken. Even this fire station in Nairobi town was at risk. Imagine the audacity. It's like trying to grab KCC, which incidentally had also been grabbed. You know, the fire station in town was at risk of being grabbed. In Eastlands, there are so many spots, and I know, which are a threat, and some have actually been grabbed. So the first thing is to reclaim all of these properties and equipment that is necessary for doing that. So the authority, number one, will adopt a coordinated interagency and interministerial approach in disaster prevention, mitigation, response, and recovery activities. Will be the central national agency in implementing these activities, of course, sets the policy. They will advise continuously the national and county government on management measures of disaster risk, which is extremely important for them to get that advice. They'll develop, update, and coordinate implementation of the management strategy, the management plan that each county must develop and then bring to the Disaster Management Authority at the national level. Of course, and this was very specific when you put it, to collate, in coordination with the Bureau of Statistics, to coordinate, collect, review, and analyze disaggregated information relevant to disaster risk management. This includes population data, the household data. Our census even tells us what kind of firewood people use, whether it is firewood or gas or whatnot. So based on that, they can be able to actually map out some of these hotspots when it comes to disaster. Madam Speaker, of course, formulate, establish, and implement a national early warning and emergency communication system. And that emergency communication system must be toll-free. You know, you cannot charge people to actually make a phone call when there is a disaster or to pass that message. It must be toll-free, Madam Speaker. And of course, public awareness campaigns. We used to have them years ago as I grew up in this city, where we'd be told what to do in case of a fire. Yeah? Fire drills used to be conducted. These days, people don't know what to do. What happens in case of a terrorist attack? 9/11 was commemorated yesterday, and I was watching a serious documentary on 9/11 on how people had to be taught after that in case of this, either you go down, you go under a table, how do you get out? Because some people will die because of stampedes in the case of a disaster. We need to create public awareness to our people to let them know through civic education. Of course, we must monitor, evaluate, and document lessons learned from the handling of disasters. The file on solar is this big, but it's in Mutula's office only. Yeah? I don't know if the county government has seen what to learn, whether Warma has looked at it to see this is what happened, because it's this thick. We went through all of those things, and we know what happened and what was the problem. But we must document lessons learned. We must learn to be a country that takes documentation importantly. Madam Speaker, of course, to promote linkages with key ministries, community service organizations, international organizations, county, sub-county, and community-based disaster risk management entities, and coordinate preparation and maintenance of atlases, including data banks and information on potential hazards and vulnerabilities. Madam Speaker, also to lead and coordinate routine hazard identification and vulnerability and risk assessments in all sectors, and to have these early warning systems at the national level. So, Madam Speaker, there are many, many functions and roles that this authority is going to have, including structural and non-structural mitigation measures in all sectors. For instance, if you're dealing with people in the industrial area, people who are in industry, there's what you need to tell them vis-a-vis people in the transport sector. The transport sector needs to look at disaster in a different manner. Those who are in, for instance, mining, yeah, we've had people who mines have collapsed around the country. They need to be given different disaster awareness. So it'll be sector-based across the country. And we must have guidelines for participation in county, national, regional, international disaster management activities. We can have international disasters between our countries. How do we deal with those? Of course, to coordinate resource mobilization, strategies, training, etc. And I'll ask members to go through this bill. It has all of those provisions. Madam Speaker, without going further, because I think I should actually just move, and then it can be seconded when we come back, I think, or maintain a few more minutes. Really, this will go. This is one of those bills or laws that will change how things are being done and directly affect the lives of Kenyans. So, Madam Speaker, with that, I wish to move that the bill be read a second time, and I'll ask Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. To second.
You will not need to continue. You've finished, and Senator Mutula will just, because you have a balance of 33 minutes.
Okay, so Madam Speaker, I will continue. So I have not moved. I will continue, okay, so that even Mutula can get the warmth of the flow, okay, as he's seconding. But he's very well versed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So you'll have a balance of 33 minutes. Honorable Senators, it is now 6:30 p.m., time to adjourn the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until Tuesday, 21st September 2021 at 2:30 p.m.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Honorable Senators, I hereby report to the Senate that a petition has been submitted through the clerk by the Kenya Water and Sanitation Civil Society Network. As you are aware, under Article 119(1) of the Constitution, and I quote, "Every person has a right to petition Parliament to consider any matter within its authority, including enacting, amending, or repealing any legislation." Honorable Senator, the salient issues raised in the petition are as follows: that Article 43(1) D of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 guarantees every Kenyan the right to clean and safe water in adequate quantities. However, access to most vulnerable citizens still remains unfulfilled. In this case, a huge population of Kenyan access water from unregulated service providers. In particular, a big part of the population in residential areas still depend on small-scale water service providers for water services. 2, the sustained access to water has been identified as an important non-pharmaceutical defense against the COVID-19 pandemic, among other diseases. Lack of sufficient water resources puts vulnerable population at risk of contracting the virus. That via legal notice number 168, the Cabinet Secretary for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation published the Water Resources Regulations 2021, whose proposals provide significant changes in the obligations of water users and thus increasing the normal cost of obstruction of water from various sources. The proposed charges in the said regulations will alter the cost of provision of water services by water service providers, who will in turn pass the cost to the consumers. That the regulations are not clear on water catchment management and conservation. A provision should be made in the regulations for a percentage to be plowed back to restoration of catchment areas. And 5, that the net effect of implementation of regulations will be depending a failure to observe, protect, and fulfill the right to water and provided for in the Constitution. Further, that the proposed regulations pose the risk of reducing the resilience of population against current COVID-19 pandemic. The petitioners therefore pray that Senate intervenes in the matter with a view to expand the current charges and reinstate the charges as expressed in Part 2 of Schedule B in the impunged regulations. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order number 231, I shall now allow comments, observations, or clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. Senator Musuruve.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I would like to say, Honorable Speaker, that constitutionally, when it comes to water, it is a constitutional right. You know, Article 43 talks about provision of water, and not only water, but clean water, Honorable Speaker. And even before COVID, Honorable Speaker, the issue of water has been lacking in many parts of this country. I will even give an example of where I stay. Actually, in Kang'ata, the issue of water is a really big issue. And even residents are buying water. Honorable Speaker, it is unthinkable and not well-meaning for residents to buy water. This is a provision that should be given by the government, Honorable Speaker. The water agencies have to come out clearly and ensure that people have water, Honorable Speaker. Because even in some schools in Nairobi and many parts of the world, even in Lugari, I know there are some schools that don't have water at all, Honorable Speaker. And when we are talking even during this COVID period, it's even a very intense issue that that needs to actually be looked into. Because when it comes to COVID, the remedy is as simple as using water and soap. And these are affordable, Honorable Speaker. Water is even cheaper to afford compared to even sanitizers and other measures that will prevent COVID. So I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that the petitioners have done the right thing, and it is just the owners of this House to ensure that this petition is pursued up to really the end, so that water is provided to all citizens of this country, Honorable Speaker. Thank you. I support the petition.
Senator Imana Malaki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the chance to also put my voice on this particular petition. From the onset, I support the petition because it's about water. Water is a liquid that keeps us all alive. 70% of our bodies is water. And so it's one ingredient that should be available all the time for all the people. And as Honorable, my fellow senator just said, it is a constitutional right that all citizens of this country must have potable water to consume. And for those of us coming from drier regions, water is really, really very rare. People are thirsty, animals are thirsty. In today's news and last week's news, it's been mentioned that lots of our people, especially in Turkana, have left Kenya to go into Uganda, into Ethiopia in search of water and grass. That is because their own county is very dry, there are no rains, and people are in dire need of water. So I think the government should do something, especially in dry regions. I would say the same for the northeastern part of the country. The government should avail vehicles that can carry water to remote areas so that people can have water. And the government should also go out of its way to drill as many boreholes as possible so people have water. Otherwise, many people are living in dire need of water. And it's even worse in towns where people, where there are so many people, especially now in terms of these times when we have COVID. People need to wash their hands to be able to eat, and there's not enough water. So this idea of buying water, you know, when people used to speak that would be buying air, would be buying water, I used not to believe it. But in my lifetime, we've started buying water. So in many towns in Turkana, people buy water, and those who are poor cannot afford that water that is bought. So they are forced to go to the river and drink water that is not clean. And so that is what creates prevalence of diseases. So, Mr. Speaker, I think something must be done as a country to avail clean water for all of us, because after all, it's a constitutional right. So I support this particular petition and hope that it's going to produce some fruit. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Finally, Senator Charargi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the onset, I want to congratulate Kenya Water and Sanitation Civil Society Network for having faith in this, Senate and bringing this petition. And they want the expunge of offending provisions in the Water Service Regulations 2021 and the Water Resource Regulations 2021. Mr. Speaker, it is sad that as a country that we should buy water. Under Article 43, as they have captured of the Constitution of Kenya, access to clean and safe water is a basic human right under Chapter 4 Bill of Rights, Mr. Speaker. As a country, and we have failed the nation, we have failed our people, Mr. Speaker, because access to water is a basic human right that should be adhered to. So by the fact that we want everywhere in this city, in our villages where we come from, at least the retailers of water provide a keen and more water than even the ordinary sewerage and sanitation companies that we have across our counties, Mr. Speaker. So it is very unfortunate that we are discussing the increasing the cost or regulating the small-scale water suppliers, the water kiosks, that continue to provide these highly looked after commodity, Mr. Speaker. And you know, Mr. Speaker, this time we have the COVID pandemic. As at now, even as we push for vaccination, Mr. Speaker, our people majorly depend on water, and this water is needed especially for washing hands and ensuring that we keep corona at bay, Mr. Speaker. So I want to really say that water should be accessible, should be affordable, Mr. Speaker, and the government must take its rightful position. As we talk, Mr. Speaker, finally, in line with this petition, we have many dams that had been earmarked, Mr. Speaker, to be funded and to be constructed by government, like the Arora and Kimwarer, Mr. Speaker, that was scaled down. Yet we know the reason why it was more of politics than what we are doing. And we have heard even the DPP saying that Arora and Kimwarer, they cannot even charge anybody because they knew these were politics, Mr. Speaker. You go to Kepen Dam, Mr. Speaker, the one we have in Nandi County, that is worth 7 billion, that should solve 70% of water problems in Nandi, Mr. Speaker. We are talking about Carmenu, Twage, we are talking about many dams, even in Northeastern boreholes that should assist our people to access, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, even in Northeastern, in fact, I was shocked, Mr. Speaker, when I saw the governor of Isiolo, I don't know whose name is he is busy attacking and talking about the relevancies, yet many people suffer because of drought and famine. They cannot access water. So in as much as we lay blame with the national government, the county governments, especially in ASAL areas that are facing drought at the moment, what are the county governments doing in terms of drilling boreholes and making sure there is accessibility to water, Mr. Speaker? So you find a governor of a county like Isiolo discussing about some issues of politics instead of concentrating on providing water, Mr. Speaker. So I want to challenge the ministry, and I hope, Mr. Speaker, if you will be given opportunity, and this Committee of Environment and Natural Resources should invite us, because as we talk, even Itare is it in Nakuru, between Nakuru and in Rift Valley, it is told, Mr. Speaker, almost all dams that were supposed to be constructed to ensure we have clean and safe water, Mr. Speaker. And we don't want to play politics with our government projects, Mr. Speaker. In fact, I dare say the project that was meant for Keben Dam in Nandi County was given to Kisumu by providing under Sondu Miriu projects, and we were told because it's handshake. Yet our project had come earlier on, Mr. Speaker. So we cannot allow this to go on, Mr. Speaker, where we even in Bomet, also the dam has told, Mr. Speaker, how can we talk about accessible access to clean piped water when the same government under the Ministry of Water and Sanitation is not pushing for more funding in completion of dams? I pity for our people in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, especially in Turkana and northeastern part of Kenya, that they are facing drought, Mr. Speaker. Those people are facing drought because of our disorganization. Because if we were fair in this country, Mr. Speaker, the government should have ensured that we have number of dams be constructed in Northeastern and Turkana, and ensure that number of bowls, even in Laisamis, Mr. Speaker, for example, bowls have dried up. Yet you have the minister who comes from that region, Minister of Finance, I don't know whose name is busy lecturing us about political formation, yet he cannot allocate sufficient funds to that region and ensure our people do not die because of drought and famine. Mr. Speaker, I submit and I thank you, and I support this petition, and I hope when the committee of this House will be listening to, we can be able, Mr. Speaker, to be part of it and have a conversation of looking to resolving these issues of inaccessibility to clean and safe water. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I had said finally, but I can see I'm into Senator Mwenye Haji.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, these regulations have not been officially gazetted. What was gazetted was a proposed regulations. If you look at even the petitioner is saying that the petitioners are saying that the regulations are being proposed. If you look at paragraph 9, the special attention is drawn to the legal notice number 168, in which the Cabinet Secretary in charge of water, sanitation, and irrigation has published proposed water resources regulations 2021, whose proposal provides significant changes in the obligations of water users, and particularly in increasing the nominal cost of obstruction of water from various sources. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, the regulations have not really been gazetted, and the petitioners have an opportunity, I think, to make presentations as stakeholders in the water sector to be able to have their input considered before the regulations are gazetted and laid before this House for scrutiny and approval. And in the event they don't get that opportunity, I think when the regulations are laid before the House and are committed to the delegated legislation committee, they can also make presentations before that committee, and they'll be considered, and the regulations either annulled or returned back to the ministry with their input having been considered. Therefore, at this moment time, I don't want to preclude the committee from considering them, but we'll be considering regulations that have not been officially gazetted and laid before the House in accordance with Section 5, I think, of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Shionga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the petition, and I want to congratulate the petition for bringing this petition before this House. Mr. Speaker, mine is just simple. It's that the petition is relevant and it's timely, because when you look at water, water is important and it's a basic need. And even here where we are seated in the Senate, we have water before us. That means, that shows how important water is in our lives and in our daily need. Mr. Speaker, when the petitioner says that we lack access to water, it is very true. About the 50 million people who are in Kenya right now, 17 million of them, between 17 to 19 people, have no access to clean water, including people who live in the city of Nairobi. And many of these people are suffering because their daily needs touches on water. Therefore, I want to concur with the petitioner that the committee that is going to look into this petition, let us put what is important to what is supposed to be implemented. We have a whole ministry in Kenya of water and sanitation. And if your ministry is of water and sanitation, and the public or the government of Kenya then lacks water, then what is the need of you being in that ministry? Then what I'm saying here is that let us represent people with the responsibility we have. Let us do the right thing to the Kenyans. Let us hold our mandate and our responsibility to the right to give Kenyans the right and what they deserve. Mr. Speaker, right now, my colleagues have said about COVID-19. One of the regulation and guidelines in COVID-19 or regarding COVID-19 is that we need to give or to wash our hands. If we do not have water, what do we wash our hands with? Then if we do not have water, how do we eat? How do we live? How do we then farm? And the Kenya government is mostly relies on agricultural food. And agriculture is all about water. So what I want to say is that I totally support the petitioner, and I say that, or I want to urge the members who are in that committee or who this petition is going to be under their committee is that please let us look for how we are going to implement this, how we're going to solve this. We call the necessary people, we solve this problem of water, and like how we are experiencing what we have with the issue of oil, where everyone, or the petroleum, where everyone is rioting, everyone is now yelling at one another. The government should contain what is theirs and what is basic. Basic is water, and we need water in Kenya. We have other areas in Kenya, or part of the Kenya that is semi-arid, but we have programs in Kenya that need to run those areas, especially the semi-arid areas, with water or supply water in those areas. And those people who are responsible for water programs, let them make sure that available clean water is available to Kenyans, because that is their right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the petition.
Finally, Senator Mohamud Malim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. The petitioner's main concerns to expunge offending provisions in the Water Service Regulation 2021 and the Water Regulations 2021, and also the other regulations 2021 and the Water Resource Regulation 20. But the underlying argument, that they are bringing in is the access to water. Mr. Speaker, access to water is a right. Access to clean water is a right. And in fact, this country, as early as, sometimes back we were saying clean water for all by the year 2000. But even where we are today, less than 50% of Kenyans have access to clean and safe water. Mr. Speaker, the reason is I think we are not investing in water infrastructure. If you look at Nairobi, for example, like Nairobi's major investment has been, the last investment was in the Kang'ata Dam. That was in the 90s. If you look at Mombasa, I think after Mzima, which was many years back, and also we look at Sabaki, I think there's no major investment. And in fact, in most parts of the countries, the same actually applies. Mr. Speaker, sir, it's high time, first of all, the provision of water be given serious concern by this country. Water is also devolved, but the Ministry of Water also retains a lot of resources at the headquarters. But I think the national government must take it upon itself to invest in major infrastructure water projects so that water is available. Non-availability of water is a big issue because that's why you see water shortages, interruption of water supplies. And unless you have the commodity in place, first of all, even the companies that are in place can do nothing. In fact, you cannot sell what is not there. So I think there is total, in terms of provision of water, in terms of major infrastructure project, the supplies, the bulk supplies are not available in the country. I think this investment must be done as a matter of priority, both at the national and the county government. This must be prioritized. But the petitioners, I think, for the petition, while you are looking at this petition itself, I think the issue of water supply provisions in this country and water and sewerage services, it must be considered as a matter of high priority. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The next petition is by Senator Musurube. Sorry, yes, before that, Honorable Senators, standing orders number 2321 requires a petition to be referred to the relevant standing committee. In this case, I therefore direct that the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources. And in terms of standing order number 2322, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading the prayer to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. I thank you. Senator Musurube.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to bring this petition to the floor of this House. And the I all through connotes one Matendechere, Daniel Matendechere in the Republic of Kenya. Petition to the Senate concerning unfair dismissal and lack of compensation by Broadway's Bakery Limited. I, the undersigned Daniel Matendechere.
There's a point of order. What's your point of order, Senator Langat?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to get clarification from the Senator in expression of our petition. There are some words she has murmured that borders between Cherareke, Cherar something. So I would like to your chair that it could be clarified so that we may get a gist of the meaning.
Senator, I'm told you are murmuring. I don't know. Can you pronounce the name, sir?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I'm surprised I'm murmuring. Let me be audible. Honorable Speaker, I rise on behalf of one Matendechere in the Republic of Kenya to give this petition. And all through, I connote Daniel Matendechere, a citizen of this republic. Petition to the Senate concerning unfair dismissal and lack of compensation by Broadway's Bakery Limited. I, the undersigned Daniel Matendechere, a Kenyan citizen and resident of Kakamega County within the Republic of Kenya, ID number 245197885, hereby bring the following petition to the Senate. That on Thursday, April 2018 at 5 p.m. while on duty, I was legally riding as a passenger in the company motor vehicle registration number KCL 989S. I was involved in a road accident along Sagana-Nyeri Highway in Makutano area. The accident left me with severe injuries that included blood loss as well as bone loss on the upper part of my leg. That upon public intervention, I was rushed to Kerogoya County Hospital where I was admitted for 4 days. At this facility, I underwent a surgical toilet procedure of large wounds. I was then transferred to Thika Level 5 Hospital on 30th April 2018 for treatment where I was again admitted for 4 days. It is now from here that my employer, Broadway's Bakery of contact Broadway's at africaonline.co.ke, then contact telephone number 0720 504 309, box 2501 000 Thika, requested that I be transferred to Naidu Hospital on 4th May 2018, where my wound was later grafted with skin harvested from abdominal region. I was admitted in the said hospital for 3 months and later discharged on 14th August 2018, but I continued going for checkups for 3 weeks. That on December 29th, 2018, my health deteriorated and I went to Kijabe AIC Mission Hospital, where upon examination, the doctor recommended amputation of my leg below the knee. Thereafter, I went to for periodical checkups at the medical facility for 6 months. The accident left me with a physical disability that affected my mobility. This required that I use an artificial leg with the help of my family and friends. I was able to raise the funds, but my employer did not give any support. That on 1st October 2019, my employer, Broadway's company, re-employed me from transport section to wrapping section, which to me, with a freshly amputated and artificial leg, was meant to enhance an conducive environment for me to work, since the section involved a lot of standing that inflicted a lot of pain on me. The change of section was done in bad faith. While at the section, I was falsely accused of negligence of duty and served with a letter dated 5th October 2020 from Bimol Shah's company's director. That on 16th November 2020, I received a notice of termination, of which after 14 days, I was sacked on 30th November 2020 without compensation. That upon my dismissal, I tirelessly made an effort to seek justice, but the management was not yielding towards the same. These efforts included: 1, after my termination from job, I engaged the National Council of Persons with Disability, of which they wrote to the company 2 letters with the following reference, demanding why they had terminated my service without compensation. On 11th December 2020, termination of employment for Daniel Matendechere Aura of NCPWD/P/527368. B, on 19th January 2021, reminder from National Council of Persons with Disabilities. The effort by the Disability Council to the company was futile and never gave fruits. Now jobless, I could no longer manage to afford lawyers, and therefore any attempt of this case in any court has never been mentioned or heard in any court in Kenya. C, my humble submission to my employer and even willing to work was a sign of my cooperation to the company management for them to consider my compensation. However, to my rude shock, the company director, Mr. Bimol Shah, dismissed my request with a ridicule, I quote, "Enda kule nje, niko na pesa, tutakutania huko." Enda kule nje, niko na pesa, tutakutania huko. What else could I do? A helpless poor Kenyan, now with permanent disability, that I have made the best effort to have this matter addressed by the relevant authority, of which all have proved unsuccessful. That none of this issue in this petition is pending in any court of law. Wherefore, your humble petitioner prays that the Senate, one, by your able power and wisdom, to compel Broadway's Bakery, my lifetime disability that I incurred while in line of duty, since I'm now incapacitated, kindly allow me to restructure the sentence. The one that Broadway's Kenya compensates him for the disability and also for unlawful termination. Petition to the Senate by Daniel Matendechere concerning unfair dismissal and lack of compensation. Matendechere has signed. He signed on 8th September 2021, and they are also undersigned. That is Daniel Matendechere, of ID number is there. Harrison Musonye, ID number is there. Rev Kitazi Eric, the ID number is there. And Rev John Lugongo, ID number is there. And I have countersigned as a senator representing persons with disability in this republic, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Okay.
I don't know if, with your permission, you'll allow me to comment on what I think you are.
You cannot discuss the petition. You've just done your bit. Please take your seat. Okay, honorable senators, pursuant to Standing Order number 231, I shall now allow comments, observations, or clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. I saw Senator Emana Malaki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to have time to comment on this particular petition. Mr. Speaker, we need to appreciate our disabled. A human being is not the body. A human being is the brain. If somebody is disabled, it means they cannot use certain functions of their bodies. But if their brain is okay, those people are functional. They can do a lot of things. They can go to school, they can learn, they can work. So when somebody gets disabled, especially now on an accident, you know, none of us ever asks to get disabled. If you get disabled on an accident or you are born that way, you did not choose that condition. In a civilized society, it is imperative that all of us should make it possible for the disabled to live their lives comfortably. So it's very, very annoying to see that somebody was pushed out of work because they got disabled. They got an accident and they got disabled. What I would have expected the manager or whoever is managing this bakery to do is to make provision for this person to be able to work for as long as their brain was functioning. It would have been made possible that they would have been put in a section or in a department where they could be able to function, would be able to work without being pushed out. When you're disabled, how in the world are you supposed to manage your life? You're supposed to be supported by your community, by your society. So, but when you're pushed out, what they're saying is you go out there and die, go and starve to death. That is very inhuman. That is not something that we expect from citizens of this country. This country should be a lot more civilized, such that people living with disabilities should be accorded the respect they deserve as human beings, and places should be prepared for them to live and be fed, even by the government, because they are our citizens. It is just that they are not able to fend for themselves. But for those who have functioned before, and they got disabled by something like an accident, surely the institution employing them should make it possible for them to function, should make it possible for them to continue working there and be able to take care of their families. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this petition, and something should be done on a larger scale because disabled people are all over the country. Something should be done on a larger scale to accommodate our citizens who are disabled. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Orders number 2321, the petition is committed to the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare, which is the relevant Standing Committee for its consideration. In terms of Standing Orders 232, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading the prayer to respond to the petitioners by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. In considering these issues raised in the petition, the committee may undertake a comprehensive review of the laws pertaining to protection of workers in the private sector and propose suitable legislative proposals for consideration by the Senate. I thank you. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Senator Sionga, you are laying papers, okay.
Thank
you. Okay, what's your point of order, Senator Cheriot?
Just a small matter to bring to your attention that our colleagues who are in chamber via the online platform are complaining that they cannot hear what is going on in the chamber. So probably they need to be assisted.
Okay, the technical team, please work on that. Proceed, Senator Sionga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate, today the 16th September 2021. The report on the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on the Persons with Disability Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 29 of 2021. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay.
Okay, thank you. Next order.
Order number 6, statements.
Yes, Senator Ephraim Maina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make a statement regarding the matter that appeared yesterday in this House on the fuel crisis that we are facing in this country as the chairman of the Energy Committee. Mr. Speaker, I'm making this statement on the substantial increase of fuel by the Energy and the Petroleum Authority recently. Mr. Speaker, it's worth noting that the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry made the Petroleum Levy Order 2020, which was published in the Kenya Gazette on 10th July 2020, and came into effect in the same month, July 2020. Mr. Speaker, the order sets out levies to be paid with respect to various petroleum fuels consumed in Kenya. These levies are required, Mr. Speaker, to be paid into a fund created under the Act and are to be used for the purpose set out in the Act, and in addition, to serve as a stabilizing mechanism of local pump prices where the prices rise owing to various conditions. And Mr. Speaker, this was after a lot of deliberations we had held with the ministry regarding the issue of rising fuel prices.
Yeah, what's your point of order, Senator Cheriot? There's a point of order.
Chairman, sorry, Mr. Speaker, not my intention to disrupt my colleague, but it will be in order for him to inform the House under which standing order the statement is raising his own, because there's a confusion. Is he responding to the statement that was raised yesterday, or is a personal statement under 471? Just for clarity, if you can inform us, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, it's another point of order. Is it Senator Cherargei?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would want to thank the chair, but my statement was you had directed that the CS of Energy and CS of Mining and Petroleum to appear next week to answer comprehensively on the recent spike in fuel prices in the country. I thought that matter was settled there, and I would have expected the chair to convene as had agreed, and you had directed that the committee of all should handle the matter on Tuesday. I thought this issue could be canvassed more deeply and in a neater way on Tuesday, and I appreciate the fact that the chair has become efficient, but as the questioner of the question, I would appreciate if we can have a situation where we have thorough and deep conversation. Because, Mr. Speaker, the issue of fuel is very emotive in this country, especially the recent hike. And you have seen even some Kenyans have all public demonstrations.
What's your point of order?
So my point of order is the chair rising on the personal statement under 47.1, or is he rising under 48.1, responding to the statement that I had raised there, or is making a comment with your permission of standing order number 1 on your discretion? So is it in order?
Senator, if I may, that statement is under what standing order? Because I want to agree that, you know, I directed yesterday that we shall have you convene meeting on Tuesday, and the whole House will attend. So I hope you are not trying to preempt what will be discussed on Tuesday.
Mr. Speaker, nobody should have imagined that after your ruling yesterday, somebody somewhere would go and connive a different act. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the question as to whether the statement I'm reading will